pause on 50% U.S. tariffs. Premier Scott Moe says this tentative deal is a positive step for both the province and for Canada. Moe says tariff reductions on industries such as steel and aluminum are important because they face the biggest impacts. Moe says around 94% of the province's economy would be tariff-free, even if the most recent tariffs came into effect. He says it wouldn't be possible to renew the old CUSMA trade deal either between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico.
And so we have to go to the negotiating table as Canadians, and we support those negotiations that have happened as a province of Saskatchewan and continue to happen to get the best deal that we can possibly get.
Moe also says premiers were asked to return American alcohol to shelves as negotiations continue. Housing construction in the province continues to grow, helping improve affordability across the province. Deputy Premier and Finance Minister Jim Ryder says housing starts reached 6,150 in 2025. That's the highest total since 2014. 6,300 rental units were added between 2023 to 2025 as well. And Saskatchewan has committed over $60 million in this year's budget to support housing construction and affordability initiatives. That's 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sastoday.ca and 620CKRM.com.
In your precision weather, mostly sunny for the rest of the day. A high of 27 degrees, very light winds out of the northwest, gusting up to 35 kilometers an hour. Overnight, partly cloudy, a low of 14. For Friday, mostly sunny, another warm day, a high of 27. Light winds out of the northeast up to 25 kilometers per hour. Friday, expected to be clear, winds out of the northeast up to 25 kilometers an hour, and a low of 11. For Saturday, mostly sunny and 27 degrees. Sunday, partly sunny, but with scattered showers and thunderstorms, a high of 30, should be humid. And Monday, partly to mostly sunny and a high of 29. Currently in downtown Regina, it is partly cloudy and 26 degrees.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sportscage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Wow, this is really happening. Happy Thursday, Saskatchewan. Brendan McGuire guest hosting for Barney Shinkruk. Coming up on the program today, we're going to check in with the Professor Don Hewitt, who has been very, very close for about the last 50 years or so with the newest inductee into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, Dale Isaac, legendary sportscaster, probably the best TV sportscaster we've ever had in this city. So we'll check in with Don about that. And I know Dave Thomas is going to catch up with Dale for the Rider pregame show coming up this weekend. You won't want to miss that either. Also, our usual features, Coast to Coast with Arash, Madani, and press coverage with Glen Suitor. You can text us at 306-936-6262 or call us toll-free at 1-866-767-0620. We have Colson behind the glass. There is no glass. That's kind of an overused phrase in radio, I guess. That kind of faded out a while ago. But first things first, right off the bat, we have maybe the best catch of all, the CFL's all-time receptions leader in studio, Nick Lewis. And everybody asks me, Nick, because it's not a secret you're living in Regina. What is he doing in Regina?
What up?
You married a Regina girl, so You're stuck with us now?
No, I just feel like I should be here to terrorize the people that terrorize me on the field. So it's always good to get out in the community and see everybody that was terrorizing me. I don't remember faces, but I remember voices.
Has your perception of Regina in the province changed from when you were a player playing for the Stampeders or the Alouettes coming in?
100%. I think as a player, when you go visit places, we come to Regina, you're downtown here, and you walk to the Cornwall, and that's all you do unless you get in an Uber and go to Earl's or somewhere to go eat. But it's very limited, and your perspective of Regina is not the same. But being in the city and being on the outskirts of the city, it's a whole different perspective. the people are actually nicer than they portray. And but it's a pretty good province. I'd say this is a great place if you want to save money because there's not really anything to do here besides support your kids playing sports.
And I don't take
it's expensive.
As a Saskatchewan guy, I don't take offense to that at all because I grew up in a farm in the middle of nowhere, and I remember some people are lucky enough to have money. It seems like there's time and there's some money, but there's not always a lot to do. And then when I lived in Southern Ontario, it was the opposite. There's tons of stuff to do, but nobody ever has any time or money to do it. So I don't know.
I got great neighbors. Good. So I'm going to shout out Watson Way, the Watson Way crew. I got some great neighbors, all Rider fans. So we get together sometimes and watch the game together. So it's fun.
You were coaching with the Stampeders 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago as a receivers coach. Do you still keep in touch with that staff, and do you foresee yourself maybe trying that again?
Nope. I love coaching. It was my dream job growing up. I love everything about coaching. So I try to help where I can, looking at possibly helping the Thunder out a little bit more here in the near future as I get opportunity. I've been a part of the Selects program for a few years as well. So anytime I can coach kids and train kids and help, then that's what I do. A Joe, before he went to Calgary, I was working with a Joe here, and we go to the park, we get workouts in and do some things. So anything I could do to support the game, support the players, that's what I'm always down for.
Are you a hockey fan? Have you become a hockey fan since going to Calgary?
Since '99. You know who won this Cup in '99?
The Dallas Stars, and you're from Texas.
So that's
why?
That's the first one. And then when I got to Calgary, the goal should have counted, 2004.
Game 6, I was there.
Yeah. So being able to hang out with a lot of those guys throughout my career, seeing the changeover from Craig Conroy and Jerome McGinley and Dion and a lot of those guys, Robin Regier, another Saskatchewan guy, and to the end with Johnny Gaudreau and Lance Bouma and TJ Brody and Matt Tkachuk and all those guys. So I've got to see the young guys come in. I got to see the old guys kind of leave during my time in Calgary.
Yeah, I was somewhat inebriated and didn't know what happened when that went on, the missed goal, and found out about it on the highlights later. But that was a very disappointing night. It was almost like the whole city of Calgary just knew the Flames were going to win the Cup. And then when Marty St. Louis scored that winner in overtime, everybody just kind of went silent because it's like, now what are we supposed to do? Because everybody was just sure that they were going to win. And it's crazy to think that Canada still hasn't won a cup. The drought at that point was like, oh my God, it's 11 years. Now we're up to 33 years. So I guess it'll be 34 and counting going into next year. But have you got, before I get back to football, have you got into the Pats at all? Have you?
You know what? I'm just telling you this. I've learned more this year about hockey. I have a nephew who's 12. He's getting scouted. He's doing some amazing things in Calgary. But it's so different. In football, it's after your college days you go pro, you get drafted. In hockey, it's 17, 18-year-old kids before they're even ready. And then it's another 3 to 5 year process, and only 36%, I think it is, make it to the NHL.
If that sounds high even.
But I don't even understand, like, if somebody's drafted into the NHL at 17, 18, why are fans not packing out every place to see these kids play?
You're talking about when they're still in junior?
While they're still in junior, while they're in the WHL, the AHL, all these HL leagues, SJHL. Like, why are people not packing out these places to watch these tomorrow's stars, right? Texas high school football, they've got 60,000 people watching the state championship games, right? And it's 3 games a day for 5 straight days. So
we say we love hockey here, but we don't know what loving sports is 100%. Until you see football in Texas.
Canadians don't love you until you're a pro or until you're famous.
And sometimes then even, I remember when Doug Flutie was in the league, people in Toronto didn't come out and watch him play. Yeah. And then when he went to the Buffalo Bills, they claimed him as theirs. And all of a sudden he was really, really important. It's almost like, well, we have that inferiority complex, right? But no, I hear what you're saying. And there were issues with the Pats. And you know what? The ticket prices were a big problem the last few years. I give the Pats ownership credit because when they were taking all kinds of heat over the ticket prices, they didn't say anything about it. And then it came out how the lease worked. And the lease was just not a very good lease. I know that the previous owners had complained about it. So I give the Pats owners credit for just going about their business through all that. So I think you'll see more people show out. And we did, You probably weren't here. Maybe you were here when Connor Bedard was here. And for the
Never went.
Okay. Well, for the first part of the year, they had problems with the crowds. The rest of the year, it went crazy. I would say after Christmas, it got crazy. And I think you'll see that this year with the change in ticket prices. But you're right. You're right about that.
I'd love to go see the Twins.
You're talking about Pugh and
what are the
Schultz?
Twins? Liam and no, the Twins they just got drafted this year by Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Ruck Twins.
Yeah.
I mean, how amazing would that be? Right? By the time they make it to the pros, if they do, you're spending an extra $100 to watch them, right? Whether with point. Parking, with food, with everything for the kids. Even ticket price is going to be more expensive.
Well, I'm a little twinned out because I'm a Canucks fan, and I got sick of the Sedins never winning a cup. And I love them to death, but they never could seal the deal. But you're right. I remember when John Paddock was here coaching Connor Bedard, he said, this is going to be your last chance to see him for under $100. And he was right. So
Maddox Schultz is another grown man.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen him play live yet, but I want to.
I think this is going to be an exciting year for the Pats. I really think you're going to see things change as far as not only wins on the ice, but also excitement around the club as well. I wanted to ask you a little bit, a few football things. Number one, you and I have had discussions about how the passing game has changed since the end of your career, largely because they changed that rule. Explain that change in the rule about you used to be able to bump a receiver and now you can't, for those of us who have never played the sport and don't know as much about it as we like to think we do.
2013 was the last year. They changed the rule going into 2014 because there's only 3,000-yard receivers in 2013. They
panicked as usual.
100%. 27 different starting quarterbacks that year. I broke my leg that year. But
you'd have been the fourth guy.
I would have been the fourth. I would have probably been the first guy to hit it. But the crazy part is back then you only got a pass interference call if they threw you the ball. So if you're way over there and they don't throw you the ball, they're not calling pass interference. Now, they could call holding if it was just egregious, right? But if you didn't get the ball thrown your way, there was no pass interference. There's damn sure no incidental pass interference, which is the dumbest rule I've ever seen. Like two people getting tripped up over each other, it's nobody's fault, right? But they went and changed the rules to now if you're past 5 yards, it's automatic pass interference on any kind of contact. Really, you still need the ball thrown your way, but they're throwing the flag pretty early now. Back then, they wouldn't throw the flag until after the ball was thrown your way. So even if they see you getting held or see the pass interference, they wouldn't throw it unless the ball came your way. So that gave the defense a little more freedom to grab. They used to run on the slots. I remember Donnie Brady in Edmonton lined up a yard off the ball with a slot coming downhill.
He was a hitter.
They used catch technique. So it was like all they did was try to grab you off the line, hold you there. So you had to be like it was a battle. It was a war to get off the ball, but you've seen a lot more man-to-man. And you've seen when in Montreal, when Anthony Calvillo, how many big plays did they make throwing the ball up to SJ and Kerry Watkins and Kwame Cavill and Jamel Richardson.
It's probably why
because
Cahoon
they were just big receivers, right?
Probably why Cahoon did so well because they had so many opportunities 100%. On the outside.
Right. So, but now, as soon as you change the rule, everybody goes zone. So now everybody went to this match, cover 4. We stopped the run on first down, second and long. We're dropping 9. Chris Jones went from 89% blitzer as a D coordinator to dropping 9 more than anybody in the league. He would drop 9 on a 2-point conversion.
Wow.
Right? So we've seen a shift not only in the players, but the game calls, and someone who used to blitz 89% of the time, he's bringing 5th or 6th person, is now dropping 8, 9 people into coverage on second and long.
Less risk-taking.
And everybody's like, well, why don't they throw the ball? It's like, where? Where are you going to throw it?
And and that's the point I wanted to bring up because I think it was Ken Avrare. He was a really good slot back when I first became a fan, and you made the point too that there's a lot of complaining last couple of years. I think it's getting a little better, but it's still there. There's too much of that. Chad Kelly used the term, and I never heard it before, and I love the term, check down Charlie. There's just too much checking down in the game, and I don't know how to get away from it. And I think the point you're making is there might not be a way to get away from it, and this is why it's happening.
It's the hand check rule in basketball, right? If you're going to call me every time for a pass interference that there's contact or too much contact after 5 yards, we're just going to play soft, and we're just going to play in zones, and we're just going to break on and give you nothing but anything under 5 yards and have everybody rally. If they make tackles, they're off the field. If you don't make tackles, then they get first downs. And that's just really what the game has became. But you see a lot of cheap yards out there, and a lot of winning, drives happen because the game is not as exciting as it used to be, I don't think, because of the fact of the man-to-man battles, right? Going against Corey Banks one-on-one, I used to have my best practices. Putting up 170 yards on Corey Banks, and at the end of the game, he's like, man, you got me today. I'll be better. I'll be ready for you next time, right? So having those types of things in those battles is something totally different. Now you're just playing zones, and there's very little man-to-man, so you're not really beating people on a consistent basis. But at the same time, it's the way the game is played. I think you're getting a lot of great receiver play. The field pots, the Canadian receivers are amazing right now. Looking at, Emilus and Schaefer, hope they get back on the field soon. But it's fun to watch them make plays, but the game is not as exciting because you don't get the one-on-one battles as much anymore.
I feel like we don't see as much risk-taking from either the offense or the defense. So if you were chief for a day, I think I asked you the question, would you switch it back? And the response you gave was, I don't know if any of the receivers are built to play that way anymore. Would you have had the career you had under the rules today? Or maybe you would have trained a little differently. You would have focused maybe less on size and strength and more on speed. I don't know.
The easiest 1,000-yard receiver I ever had was in year 16, my 13th year. I had 102 catches, and I was top 5 in the league, top 4 or 5 in the league in receiving because everybody just played off. And then I didn't have to get off of somebody grabbing me at the line of scrimmage. I didn't have to do all those different things. And you're almost at the mercy of the referees at this point because if the quarterback throws you the ball and you don't get the flag, like we're coming off the field. But I think I don't know. I don't want to go backwards. I think you just got to find a better way. One, remove the incidental pass interference. Two, reffing will never be perfect. I know I'm hard on the refs, but at the end of the day, I look at it where take the game and say, okay, what makes sense? Every rule they're implementing is offensive, right? It's offensive.
That's what they're always thinking of.
What rules have they implemented to support the defense or to help the defense? There have never been rules to support that, right? So make the game.
And you'll never see it either. You'll never see them do that either.
No. I mean, I think there's something cool in a game that's 13-10, or I don't want to see it every week. But at the same time, when you're watching it, you're like, man, these teams are going at it. Seeing good defensive teams play against each other and good offensive teams is like, man, this is where it's supposed to be. I don't want to see the best two teams in the league go out there and lose 41-38. I want to see two teams go out there and compete and win a game like 17-21 or whatever the case is. But it's like tight. Any play can make a difference in the game. And it's just like right now, it's just all, yeah.
A high-scoring game and a high-passing game, like 1,000 yards passing almost, is fun when it comes out of nowhere, but not when it becomes the norm, I think is what you're saying.
100%.
I totally get your point. We're chatting with all-time CFL receptions leader Nick Lewis on the Sportscage. Another thing that I wanted to ask you about that's piqued my curiosity, there has been a lot of coverage about football and head injuries and what the NFL is going to do about that. And the NFL has become a punching bag for good reason because they're the ones who can afford to be, and they're the ones who ignore a lot of the evidence and things like that and haven't been looking after their guys. But when we look at how the rules have changed, it's a lot safer now to be a quarterback. It's safer to be a receiver. I don't know that it's any safer to be a running back. And one thing that jumped out at me was I saw the news that Amon Green, pretty good running back in the NFL, you'll remember, he's 49 years old. Yeah, from Nebraska. Him and Kenton Keith were big high school stars, and I remember Kenton telling me how excited he was to go against him in the NFL. 49 years old, and he's got Parkinson's, for crying out loud. So I see Thomas Bertrand Hudon wearing the big beanie cap. And I think he was one of the first guys, maybe he might have been the first guy in pro football to wear that, running out on a kickoff. And now I'm seeing him doing it as a running back, and I think, yeah, that is so smart. Why aren't more guys doing that? I feel like if I was a running back, like we've made the game safer for other positions. I'm not saying all guys have to do it, and I'm not trying to lecture, and I know there's probably issues with those. I don't know if you've ever worn one of those beanie caps. They might be a little bit heavier, but it kind of astonishes me that more of these running backs and even linebackers aren't wearing them. What's your thought? Would you be wearing one, or
Hell
would you be
no.
reluctant?
Let's get to the science. Okay. 12 universities, some of the best universities, those have zero impact on concussions or brain damage. The woodpecker, his tongue's wrapped around his brain, can hit a tree 1,000 times a minute, no brain damage. The battering ram, their skull's locked in their brain, or the brain's locked in their skull. It doesn't move. They can go head up with anything, no brain damage. We have a floating skull. Most concussions come from whiplash, never head-to-head impact. It's a false narrative. You can never make the game safe. It's like if in the Roman Colosseum, we're like, hey, we're going to dull the knives.
Not going to happen.
Somebody's still going to die, right?
Right.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that we have to understand and we have to accept, if you want to do this, there are things in place. But the positive that people, and I'm looking at the camera, the positive that people need to understand is with technology, you can heal the brain and you can grow the brain. So if we stop talking about what the damage is and start talking about what the solution is, that you can still have a long life, you can still heal your brain if you take the proper steps. And these conversations can happen. I've had this conversation with one of the commissioners before. Anytime if the league comes out and says anything, they're up for lawsuits.
Yeah, they have
so
to
you
be
almost
quiet. The
have
commissioner won't even talk
you
about it.
almost have to get all the older players to say, you know what, we will not sue the league. Anything else, we just want it to be better going forward. That's the only way that you're going to have an honest conversation to really start to build the way in for people to have that conversation. I've had parents in Texas tell me I don't want my kid playing football because of brain damage. I say, you know what, fall in a sinkhole. You can get in a car wreck, get mass brain damage. Like, you can't protect yourself from life. Life happens. At least enjoy doing it. But now with technology, now with some of the things, I got a friend, played 9 years in NFL, Avion Kason, early onset dementia at 36.
Wow.
Right? But we didn't have those things when I was young.
Right.
Like now they have technology that you can heal your brain. Now they have things that we can sit down and talk about and say, okay, what are the solutions? And it's not a false narrative. Like, it's like if you put a padding on right now and I come and run you into the wall, yeah, it's not going to hurt as bad. And that's all that thing does on your head. Any kind of brunt injury, it stops that. But you can never stop your brain from moving in your skull. So when you hit the ground, your brain's moving. When you take a hit, your head goes forward, your brain's moving. So you can never stop it. So everything that they're talking about doesn't work. But the thing that does work is listen to science, listen to technology, and understand how do I take the proper steps to make sure I'm going to be okay long term.
You and I are not medical experts, and we may have to agree to disagree a little bit, but I agree with what you're saying that we need to also come up with ways to heal people who have those injuries, and I know they are doing that.
Well, I've worked with a lot of brain specialists, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying this is me and this is not my thoughts. Like, I've worked with a lot of brain specialists. I'm a part of this group called the Biosport, which is helping enhance athletes with just learning their bodies and understand who they are. So I've gotten more into a lot of those things. And I'm not saying it's – and look, the major 4 brain diseases, so we talk about CTE, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia, you could still get it, but now people are just getting it earlier because of the brain damage. And it could be somebody that right now that falls or gets in a car wreck and they're in the same risk as athletes, right? So,
or some people who don't get in car wrecks. I had a neighbor who I don't think got in any fights and got it in their early 60s. And there's other athletes who never get it. 100%. Boxers who never had it.
And that's where the conversation is going to always go, because it's not 100% that just because you play football you're going to get one of those.
Oh no, right? Not at all. So, not at all. I still think
I don't think you can protect yourself.
Yeah, I still think the odds of getting that are low even if you have a career, it's just higher. They believe it's a lot higher than in the general public, but there's 100%. Still lots more testing that needs to be done on that.
Box for the day.
Are you still, well, that's what this is for. Are you still doing the AO Sports thing?
100%.
Tell us about that.
Man, it's going amazing. It's taking a little longer than I thought, but we're growing our athlete base. Just signed an Olympian. We're bringing on a group from Australia right now. They're going to be bringing Aussie rules football and
this is
all
a
these
broadcast venture.
Yeah, so it's a sports media platform. So athletes will bring on members, and members can come. You can get behind-the-scenes footage, podcasts, documentaries, reality shows, all kinds of different content from the athletes. In one price, you get access to all the athletes on the platform, all the creators on the platform. But we got some cool engagement type stuff. So I went from a D2 walk-on to a Hall of Famer. And as the CEO of a company, I want fans to be a part of something great. I've read a book about how the fans that walk into a stadium, and when they're there, when you win or lose, you get the same exact feeling as the players. When your team scores, you get the same exact feeling. So why not recreate that in media? Why not have you be a part of something where you feel the win when the team wins, right? So that's what we're doing. We're doing more for you, the fan or the member. We're not asking you to just pay a subscription and just all you're getting is content. We're going above and beyond, and we're going to do some really cool things, and we got some great athletes. I got one partnership I can't wait to announce here pretty soon. It's an NHL legend. We're going to be doing this production together.
That's cool, and if people want to check that out, they go to aosports.com?
.tv. So aosports.tv. Yes, indeed.
There you go. Okay, well, check it out. Hey, thanks for coming in.
I appreciate it. This is great.
We got to do this more often.
I appreciate it. Yeah, they might not let me back on now. This is going to go crazy. I asked the commissioner about the brain stuff at the Grey Cup in Ottawa, and it just went crazy.
You know what? You're. I don't agree with everything you said, but you're entitled to your opinion. That's why we have you on here. And you didn't drop any F-bombs this time. So no. I think that's progress. We're doing good.
That's progress.
Good job. You knocked it out of the park.
You stay classy, Regina.
That is Nick Lewis. When we come back, we will check in with the professor, Don Hewitt, about, he'll tell us about the Isaacs going into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame induction class of 2026. You're listening to the Sports Cage on the almighty 620 CKRM and watching at sportscage.com.
Winter in Saskatchewan tests everything, our patience, vehicles, and sometimes our bumpers. From icy parking lot dings to serious highway mishaps, choosing local matters. At Regina Motor Products Collision Center, we're Saskatchewan owned, run, and we drive these roads too. An SGI accredited full-service collision center working on all makes and models. Submit your SGI claim and book your appraisal. It's easy. When you need repairs you can trust, it's neighbors helping neighbors. Regina Motor Products Collision Center, south at Highways 1 and 6 Albert Street, rmpchevrolet.com.
The Roughriders season is here, and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca, and never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR260010.
Why juggle multiple providers when you can have one seamless experience? On the farm, acreage, or cottage, Access Communications has you covered with internet, TV, and security. One provider, one bill. One reliable rural home solution, backed by our great customer service. Get internet and Wi-Fi that hold up in tough weather, plus TV anywhere with Access Next TV. And security you can monitor from your phone. You can have it all with Access. Sign up today and save $20 per month when you combine services. Visit myaccess.ca.
Got a landscape project in mind this year, but not sure how to bring it together? Hi, I'm Sean from the Rusty Shovel Landscape Shop. This is where projects get stuck, not knowing what to do first. That's what our project consult is for. We'll come out, walk the space with you, and help you build a clear plan. Whether you're doing it yourself or need a contractor, we'll point you in the right direction. Book your project consult today at therustyshovel.ca/consult. Great projects start at the shovel. The Rusty Shovel Landscape Shop. 2 green thumbs up.
Back to Sports Cage. Text 306-936-6262. 620 CKRM.
Thursday Sportscage, Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz still ahead. The regulars, we have Arash Madani and Glen Suitor in hour 3. Suits is in Montreal getting set to do that Red Blacks Alouette game tonight. And boy, if there was ever going to be a game that needed a 20-point spread, that would be it. But it's only, what did you say, Colson? It was 12.5, now it's 13.5?
13.5 where I'm looking, yeah.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns. So they must be banking on Ottawa having some garbage time touchdowns at the end, because I feel like that's a generous spread, even for Ottawa. I don't know that I've seen a bigger mismatch on paper in a while than this one, or that you will all season long, than to see the 0-9 Red Blacks visiting the 8-1 Montreal Alouettes. Right now, we go out onto the Western Pizza Hotline. Very pleased to be joined by the Professor, Don Hewitt, to tell us a little bit about the next inductees into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. And you were representing Mel and Dale Isaac this week, is that right, at the announcement?
I was. Of course, Mel has passed away a few years back. Dale was up at a northern lake at one of his son's cottages, so he decided not to make the big journey down. So I ended up representing the Isaac brothers, because Dick White, who's running the show, didn't want like empty seats, and I know Dick Weiss did the same thing for Danny Banda. Getting back quickly though, before we get back to the Isaacs, that's got to be the lowest rated CFL game on TSN this year tonight. Who the heck's going to watch that? I mean, like the Ottawa Football Club, I mean, the president just went gonzo, and he should have been gonzo, although I guess he was an accountant, so accountants always keep their jobs. But I mean, I can't. I watch pretty much
about that.
I watch pretty much every CFL game. I'm a diehard CFL fan, and I don't know if I can muster Ottawa playing in Montreal. I just don't know. I may go, I don't know, paint a wall and watch it dry.
But I'm not sure. But what if the Red Blacks pulled it off? That would be kind of thrilling, wouldn't it?
Then I would regret not watching it. I don't know. It's just, it's not good for the Ottawa franchise or the league when a team's 0-9 and it just doesn't gather much interest. But having said that, when you compare the CFL with other leagues, the parity in the CFL is better than pretty much any other professional league. So it's a great league that way. But anyway, back to the Isaacs. I mean, it was really an honor to even just fill in the seat in their, in the presence of them, the brothers Isaac, going into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. They were both legends in this community, incredible people. Hey, Dale was a good golfer in his day. Mel Isaac played for the Melville Millionaires. They could even play sports. But when you look at them, it's sort of cool that they both covered the Regina Pats in 1974 when they won the Memorial Cup. And they haven't won a Memorial Cup since. Of course, Mel was writing for the Leader Post and covering the Pats in 1974. And Dale was doing the play-by-play on the old defunct CKCK radio, I believe. But, I was thinking back, about Dale, who, I worked with for 20 years or so. More so than Mel, other than admiring Mel and just loving sitting at Pat games with Mel. Mel would get so angry when the Pats were losing. He just had he loved the Pats, and his sort of upset would be like what Dale or I and you would do when the Riders lose. Mel would get very upset if the Pats played poorly. But I was just thinking about, like, what a smooth broadcaster Dale Isaac was. He was absolutely incredible. All those years that I was his producer, because a lot of the work I did was behind the scenes as a producer, and Dale was the host and more of the on-air guy. And I just never saw him stumble or mispronounce a word. He's such an intelligent man. A brilliant man. And the only time I saw him stumble, which is a pretty good story, in the early 80s, we went down to Memphis to cover a Rough Rider free agent camp, back when local television stations actually had a budget. They don't anymore.
Which today they do not.
No. And the night before the free agent camp, we went out with a coaching staff. There's Joe Ferragalli. I remember Steve Bratto eating a blue steak, barely cooked. And I said to Steve Bratto, I think it was the offensive line coach back in the early 80s with the Roughriders, I said, that's not healthy. And he got mad at me and said, mind your own business. About a year later, he almost died because he ate some uncooked beef. But anyway, that's another story. So Dale and I go out, and we ended up going out far too late, and there was a few strong Coca-Colas consumed, and we both dragged our sad and sorry you-know-whats to the field at the old Liberty Bowl in Memphis to cover this Rough Rider free agent camp. And neither one of us could think straight. And Dale had to do some stand-ups, and you know what stand-ups are, of course, Brendan, when you're recording yourself on behind a microphone on the field on location. And believe it or not, Dale Isaac recording a stand-up in Memphis, Tennessee, stumbled twice. The only time in all the years that I worked with Dale that he ever had to do a retake. That's how good he was. And it only took being that exhausted and not feeling well for him to do a retake. I mean, he was just an incredible talent, as was Mel. I mean, I used to love listening to Mel's CBC radio sportscasts in the morning. He had to do a provincial cast as opposed to a local cast, but they were so concise and so well put together. They were both such tremendous talents. Of course, Mel did so much in the community as well. Dale Isaac, I'm going to say it. I don't know the broadcasters from the 50s backwards. I know them from the 60s forwards. Dale Isaac, without a doubt, is the most talented sportscaster to ever come out of Regina since 1962 when I started listening. I've never heard his equal, ever. I'm sorry to some people that thought they were good sportscasters in this community that I've bruised their egos, but he was the best.
Well, there have been a lot of good sportscasters come out, but you are uniquely qualified to make that call because you've been around through the Regina sportscasting community longer than anybody. There's probably nobody on earth who spent more time around it than you have. And when you were when you were a young up and comer at CKCK, working with Dale Isaac, that was just, how do I say this? It sounds to me like the late 70s, early 80s were just one hell of a good time in Regina sports TV.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment? And radio too.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the golden era. You think about when Dale was anchoring the supper newscast on CKCK TV, which is now CTV Regina. Johnny Sanderson doing the weather, Jim Allen doing the news, and Dale Isaac doing the sports. I mean, you just don't see the caliber and the quality of three men like that together anymore. Even nationally, I don't think you see it anymore. They were just such talented people on the air in those days. I know I asked Lauren Harrison, who's a CKRM legend, who he thinks is the best news anchor in this marketplace. He said Jim McLeod, who was before, of course, Jim Allen, but Jim McLeod was a legend. That's really going back. But those guys were so smooth and just such outstanding broadcasters. And, when Dale used to do the CFL and CTV, of course, he did some Olympics as well, Lake Placid, Sarajevo. But when he was doing the CFL and CTV, which, of course, was the precursor to TSN, TSN didn't exist. This was, 1980 to 1886 or something like that Dale did it. He was so good with Frank Rigney was his color man. Frank Rigney, the former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, great. Frank was really rock solid. They were the Western crew back in those days. And Dale beat out other sportscasters across the West for that job. He beat out Peter Young in Winnipeg. He beat out Russ Peake in Calgary, Al McCann in Edmonton. He beat out Bernie Pascal in Vancouver for that job, and from little old Regina. And he was, anyway, the play-by-play for the Western crew. The Eastern crew was Pat Marsden from CFTO Television in Toronto, along with former Rough Rider Leif Pettersson. Pat Marsden could not hold Dale Isaac's jock bag as a play-by-play man. Not at all. But he had the politics behind him. He was the sports director of CFTO in Toronto, and John Bassett, who was mainly in control of the CTV network at the time, was never going to allow Dale Isaac to do a Grey Cup game over Pat Marsden. Because in those days, they used to split them. Again, before TSN existed, they used to split the Grey Cup games between the CBC and CTV. And Pat Marsden would always get the nod to do half the Grey Cup game over Dale Isaac. It was one of the most grievous injustices of all time. It was politics. What a surprise. Politics and broadcasting. Politics anywhere, for that matter. But it was just so frustrating to see the best play-by-play guy in the country in football by a mile, who was Dale Isaac, not doing the Grey Cup game. And this Pat Marsden, who actually did a few games sober, most of them not. I can say that. He's long gone. He can't sue me. And that he would be doing the games ahead of Dale Isaac. It was awful, but that's the way it was in those days.
Some people think that there never was a glory era of the Canadian Football League. Everybody thinks that the CFL is what it has always been, and I don't believe that to be true. I've done my homework on this, and there was certainly a period, I would say I would draw a circle around 1976 or 1983 when all of a sudden Grey Cups spiked up. Instead of crowds in the 30,000s, they were over 50,000, and there were teams like the Montreal Alouettes outdrawing most NFL teams for a short time at Olympic Stadium. And that was really
that's right.
And CFL teams were getting TV money at a time that Major League Baseball teams weren't getting any TV money. Like the CFL was a big thing. It still is to a lot of us, but at that time it was big time stuff. And Dale was kind of part of that, wasn't he? Because he was the one who he was one of the first broadcasters who people would have seen do a game on color TV and on a big color TV, and
exactly
he was part of it.
Well, Dale Isaac, the pride of Martin Collegiate here in Regina, by the way, was a national figure in those days. The games went coast to coast. Of course, he was a national figure and did very well. Actually, here in Regina with two salaries, and he was well paid at the time at CKCK TV television. And he realizes he probably should have gone to the U.S. He was of the caliber of the United States. I felt there's many play-by-play men at that time doing the NFL that were not Dale's equal. I really didn't think so. You'd have to talk to Dale about if he has any regrets about that. But, there was a glorious era, and, there was for many years earlier and later, there weren't the Blue Jays weren't what they are now. There were no Raptors. I mean, it was the NHL and CFL. That was it at one time. The Argonauts averaged 50,000 fans, like you mentioned, Montreal. They averaged 50,000 fans in Toronto and whatnot. And it was the big time. And the unfortunate part of it all is the CFL is as good or better than it ever has been on the field. It's outstanding caliber. It's the second best football league in the world. They're faster, they're bigger, they're stronger, there's more talent. The product and caliber, as I said, is just outstanding, and people don't seem to realize it. In fact, I've always maintained this, Brendan. You tell me what you think of this. There's many players in the CFL, many, that are better athletes than NHL players. There's a way bigger player pool to start with from football than global hockey. And I don't think people realize that the athleticism they're seeing in the CFL across the country, maybe we realize it to a certain degree here or Winnipeg, but there's a lot of places I don't think they get the CFL that do.
Oh, I'm with you 100% on that. We just had one of those great athletes or former athlete. I don't know how good of an athlete he is today, Nick Lewis, in studio. But I would even go further and say that a lot of the athletes we have are superior to a lot of the NFL athletes. It's still a different athlete.
In certain ways, yeah.
I know that there's more similarities creeping up between the leagues than there used to be, and there's going to be more of that with some of the rule changes next year. But I still think pound for pound, a lot of these athletes are just as exciting to watch, and in some cases more and better. They're just different athletes. But
true enough.
You raise a good point about Canadian and American sportscasters. I mean, a lot of the great Canadian sportscasters came and have come from out west, from Saskatchewan. And I think a big reason for that is so many of us broadcasters who came up that way were put into really high responsibility roles. Like I remember I was a news director at a radio station in Estevan, Saskatchewan. They never gave me the title, of course not, but I had the role when I was 22 years old. You don't get that out in Ontario or other, and I suspect that's why a lot of the other broadcasters made it as far as they did. And I think you could extend that to comparison of so many of the best broadcasters in North America are from Canada. And another name I'll throw at you, Chris Cuthbert. I would love to have a conversation with him about opportunities he must have had to go to the United States. So I guess the point that I'm making is
right. And at one time he started in Yorkton too, Chris Cuthbert.
That's right, at GX, a sister station here. And so yeah, it kind of just reiterates to me. Not only is it great the broadcasters that we've had here who have gone to the States, the broadcasters who don't go to the States. I think we have the best broadcasters in North America. I choose to believe that. And I think Dale is a big part of that, and people who came after him. And you must feel like, in a lot of ways, this is your induction as well, because I'm pretty sure Dale would tell anybody that nobody helped his career more than Don Hewitt in all the years that you two worked together at CK.
But let's be honest. As a broadcaster, I'm going to say this about myself. I couldn't carry Dale Isaac's gym bag. Like, I do not have the talent that a Dale Isaac had and still has. I think he's on the pregame show. I think you were saying with Dave Thomas coming up in the Roughriders or in BC. But I just did not have his broadcasting ability. I really didn't. But, you go back to people from Saskatchewan, like one of the kingpins of sports in Canada, when Dale was working the CFL on CTV, was Johnny Esau. Very powerful figure, doing all the Olympics and whatnot for Canada, and he's from Saskatchewan. And I believe that Johnny Esau, I think he worked at CKRM Radio at one time. I believe he did. I could be wrong.
One of the first guys, from getting involved with the Grey Cups. I know we've. I wanted to ask you, and I know we're getting tight for time, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about Mel. And I had sort of an encounter with Mel. I remember I was working at another radio station that's a 4-letter word that we never mention on air here, and I did an interview with Ruben Mays, and I remember I don't know why I thought about asking him the question. I said, "Are you a Canadian or are you an American? Like, what do you think of yourself as now?" Because he'd been in the States so long. He says, "I'm just Ruben," and he gave this like really good response. So in that night at the Pats game, there's another former news director we never mentioned comes over to me and says, "Hey, I bumped into Mel Isaac, and he wanted me to tell you what a fantastic interview that was," and mostly because of Ruben. But I thought, oh, that'd be great. I'd love to meet Mel, and I never did meet Mel. And I know very little about him. You've described him a little bit, but what else do you remember about Mel? He did radio stuff, and then he was a CC.
I remember reading
most of the time.
Reading Leader Post for years in the morning, reading what Mel had to say, and then of course CBC for many years. He went through the junket of small radio stations in Saskatchewan. Mel had tremendous passion for sports, tremendous passion for what he was doing. The one thing that stands out to me about Mel Isaac, he is, and he was, one of the nicest human beings, caring, giving people. I have ever known in my life. In fact, I was texting with his son Scott the other day. Scott lives in Edmonton, and telling him that about his dad. Mel Isaac, if there's a 10 out of 10 human being, he was a 10. He was just the most delightful, just the nicest person. Just give you the shirt off his back, and he did a lot of volunteering for the summer games and whatnot. Was really in the community, and it's too bad that the CBC has such a small audience. And I'll just say it flat out: the CBC has a small audience, and some people may not like to hear that. But sometimes I thought Mel Isaac is wasting his time on CBC. He needs a larger audience because he's so good. So get the CBC supporters texting into Sportscage and saying they don't like Don Hewitt. But I thought that I like to have, Dale had bigger platform than maybe Mel did in that respect. And Mel was a tremendous talent too. He was a tremendous broadcaster as well, and was way, way above average. I mean, the Isaac brothers, they went in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in the early 2000s, and to go in the Regina Sports Hall of Fame is really overdue. And I have to shout out Kevin Glant, another former CKRM sportscaster. I was a sidekick, really, in the idea to nominate the Isaacs for the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. It was Kevin Glant's idea all the way. So I tip my hat to Kevin Glant, another good sportscaster in his day. One of the better play-by-play men for the Pats that I've ever heard was Kevin Glant, and he lives in Regina again, for people that don't know that.
Well, and I can totally understand how people who have done play-by-play on radio specifically for the Pats or other organizations, how they just fall in love with broadcasting, because there's no bigger rush than having an audience on a live game. Everything goes through you, and I sound very selfish, and I admittedly, I enjoy doing Rams radio broadcasts on this station still to this day for that very reason, because they don't have a monitor to watch. They're going through you, or some of them are listening on Bluetooth. Hey, we never have enough time.
Hey, I just wanted to ask you a quick question.
Yep.
The Rams have two veteran quarterbacks.
They do.
Are they both fifth year, or are they one's 5 and one's 4? Are they both fifth?
Good question. So Noah Pelche's fifth year, Owen Siebens' fourth year. So they're going to enter the year with Owen as the starter, and Noah's going to be the backup. And they're really excited about this Connor Kerr kid from Weyburn, who's the third stringer. So there's every reason to believe that the Rams have the best quarterback room in Canada West.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Who's got it better? Yep.
I think their offense is going to be really explosive this year. And there's other parts where, we'll see. But I think their offense is going to be a lot of fun to watch. So we can't wait.
So Colin Erickson will miss the first few games, then hopefully back maybe midway with his Achilles as the running back. Is that what you hear? Or
I'm not sure. They said he's not all the way back yet, but he's getting close. So I don't know that he'll miss action. We'll find out in the next week or so. But either way, even if he misses a couple of games, maybe that's okay. They want to have him on a pitch count anyways, and they don't want to rely so heavily on him. They need him healthy in November, not in late August or early September. And as a Rams
looking
fan,
forward to your play-by-play calls with the Rams, Brendan.
I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about this induction ceremony coming up for the Isaacs. You represented them well at the event the other day, and also today on the radio. Thanks for doing this, Don.
Thanks a lot, Brendan.
Okay, that is the Professor Don Hewitt, who worked at CKCK TV/CTV Regina for nearly 50 years. Represented Dale and Mel Isaac at the event to announce their induction as the part of the class of 2026 for the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. Time to break. Coming up in hour 2, we will check in with Arash Madani and go coast to coast, as well as press coverage with Glen Suitor later in the program. You're listening to Sports Cage on 620 CKRM or watching at sportscage.com.
Winter shop schedules fill up fast. That's why now is the time to pre-book your WinterWorks AG equipment inspection at Redhead Equipment. Book before December 31st and receive 10% off labor. Want to save even more? Book and prepay by October 31st to receive an extra 10% off labor. It's a smart way to save money, avoid the spring rush, and ensure your equipment is field ready when the season begins. Book today by calling your local Redhead Equipment or find a location near you at redheadequipment.ca. Redhead Equipment, making tracks since 1948.
The Roughriders season is here, and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca, and never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR260010.
Why juggle multiple providers when you can have one seamless experience? On the farm, acreage, or cottage, Access Communications has you covered with internet, TV, and security. One provider, one bill. One reliable rural home solution, backed by our great customer service. Get internet and Wi-Fi that hold up in tough weather, plus TV anywhere with Access Next TV. And security you can monitor from your phone. You can have it all with Access. Sign up today and save $20 per month when you combine services. Visit myaccess.ca.
Why do people love pickles so much? They'll tell you it's all about that tang. So Taco Time put new tangy dill salsa on a burrito, taco, and deluxe Mexi fries. It's big pickle energy for a limited time. Anytime is taco time. It's a pickle person thing.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. From power tools to skid steers, they probably have what you need for your job. 600 Albert Street, where you deal with the owner. It's time for the Sports Ticker. Brought to you by Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals. Rent a water heater and water softener starting at about $1.20 a day and get $400 when you switch to Reliance Heath.
The Toronto Blue Jays got home runs from Kaz Okamoto, Daz Cameron, and Nathan Lucas en route to a 5-1 victory over the Tampa Bay Rays earlier today. Don't look now, but the Jays are coming like a hotter than a bottle rocket in June or August. Tonight, there is CFL football happening, and looks like a stinker on paper. I have a feeling it'll be a better game than that. The 0-9 Ottawa Redblacks visiting the 8-1 Montreal Alouettes. Glen Suitor will be on our show just after 5 o'clock, and then you can catch him doing the broadcast at 5:30 on the almighty TSN. That's your sports ticker for this Thursday.
The original 620 CKRM Country Cookouts are back for the harvest season. As you and the crew take a break from taking crop off the field, we'll fill you up with a delicious meal from Nikki's Cafe and Catering. We'll also bring you prizes and live entertainment. Keep it on CKRM for the dinner bell cue to call, and you could be one of our lucky 8 Fall Country Cookout winners. 620 CKRM's Country Cookouts for
Municipal Hail Insurance, International Rural Exchange Canada, Original 16, Last Mountain Distillery, and Nikki's Cafe and Catering.
The Roughriders season is here, and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca, and never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR260010.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit SaskTel.com/make the call to learn more. Conditions apply.
Why juggle multiple providers when you can have one seamless experience? On the farm, acreage, or cottage, Access Communications has you covered with internet, TV, and security. One provider, one bill. One reliable rural home solution, backed by our great customer service. Get internet and Wi-Fi that hold up in tough weather, plus TV anywhere with Access Next TV. And security you can monitor from your phone. You can have it all with Access. Sign up today and save $20 per month when you combine services. Visit myaccess.ca.
What's the deal with carpet? Why do they call it wall-to-wall? Where else was it gonna go?
No matter what flooring you need, the experienced local team at Flooring Superstore can help you find the right fit for your home and your budget. Whether it's hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, vinyl, linoleum, artificial turf, floors for gyms, they've got it all.
You will never be even, Steven.
Flooring Superstore. Quality floor covering at the best price. FlooringSuperstoreRegina.ca.
From the towers to the tractors, country's greatest hits. 620 CKRM, a Harvard media station.
It's 4 p.m. Good afternoon. Partly cloudy and 27 degrees in Regina. I'm Will Manzik from the SAS Today newsroom with 620 CKRM News. Regina police have identified human remains found buried in a backyard on Retallick Street as those of 34-year-old Wayne Joseph Breed. The remains were found on June 9th. Regina Police Chief Laura Lee Davies says tips from the public helped to lead them to an ID.
Some of that information did help us to be able to have a lead, I suppose, and then get DNA and then send that DNA away for analysis.
Breed was not listed as a missing person, and the investigation continues. Premier Scott Moe says a tentative trade deal with the United States is good for both Saskatchewan and Canada. Moe says the agreement should provide better access to Canada's largest trading partner and reduce some tariffs on sectors such as steel and aluminum. He says about 94% of Saskatchewan's economy would remain tariff-free, even under threatened U.S. tariffs. Moe says the deal was because of some 11th-hour negotiations.
And even up to a day or two ago, there really was no path forward in sight, no trade agreement in sight. That changed last evening after a couple of calls between the Prime Minister and the President, active negotiations.
Moe also says Prime Minister Mark Carney asked the premiers to restore American alcohol to shelves. Saskatchewan's harvest has reached 4% complete last week as rain, cool temperatures, and humidity slowed field work, according to the weekly provincial crop report. The province remains well behind its 5-year average of 15% complete, but it is ahead of last year's 3%. The Southwest leads the way with harvest progress at 9%, followed by the Southeast at 3%. So far, winter wheat is 33% harvested, while fall rye sits at 44% complete. Producers also say warmer weather is needed to improve crop maturity and harvest conditions. And Saskatchewan is reporting strong growth in housing construction, with new data showing the province remains one of the most affordable places in Canada to buy or rent a home. Deputy Premier and Finance Minister Jim Ryder says there were 6,115 housing starts in 2025. That's the highest level since 2014 and a 42% increase from the year before. More than 6,300 rental units were completed between 2023 and 2025. That sets a record for rental supply. And the province also invests more than $60 million annually in housing, affordability, and construction programs. That's 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sastoday.ca and 620ckrm.com.
Weather for Next Gen Coatings. Spray coatings for truck bed liners, rocker panels, and more. Same company, new name. 1865 McCarra Street, Regina.
In your precision weather, mostly sunny for the rest of the day. A high of 27 degrees. Very light winds out of the northwest, gusting up to 35 kilometers an hour. Overnight, partly cloudy. A low of 14. For Friday, mostly sunny. Another warm day. A high of 27. Light winds out of the northeast up to 25 kilometers per hour. Friday, expected to be clear. Winds out of the northeast up to 25 kilometers an hour and a low of 11. For Saturday, mostly sunny and 27 degrees. Sunday, partly sunny, but with scattered showers and thunderstorms. A high of 30, should be humid. And Monday, partly to mostly sunny and a high of 29. Currently in downtown Regina, it is partly cloudy and 26 degrees.
For over 40 years, you've known them as Regina's trusted vehicle protection specialists. Now they're introducing the next gen of coatings. New name, new level of protection. They're now next gen coatings. 3 generations of their family have served your family, and that hasn't changed. Same owners, same commitment, ready for the next gen of truck beds, rocker panels, trailers, bumpers, and running boards. The company hasn't changed, just the name. Next Gen Coatings, 1865 McCarra Street. The next gen starts now.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz with you on this Thursday Sports Cage. Still ahead, press coverage with Glen Suitor ahead in hour 3 and getting ready for the game tonight on TSN. Also the Rider game on Sunday, little Sunday night football for you with the Riders taking on the BC Lions on the TV show that Marshall Hamilton and I did this week. I feel like it's the first time ever maybe that all three of us, me, Marshall, and the crew, took someone other than the Riders, went against the Riders, I should say, taking BC in that game. We'll be curious to hear Suits' thoughts on how the Riders will be able to regroup with their depleted receiving core and some of the players who are just getting healthy and maybe will be back in the lineup on Sunday. Let's go to Arash.
It's time to go coast to coast with Arash Madani for Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Gawley at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
I know you're just super excited for the CFL game tonight, the biggest spread of the CFL season in Montreal, where the Alouettes will face the Ottawa Redblacks, and 13.5 points is a pretty big spread. You think the Owls can cover 2 touchdowns?
I mean, how don't they, Brendan? You know, you just think about what this Montreal offense is and has been, and Philpott and Alexander, and let me count the ways. And then, I don't know if you looked at the Red Blacks depth chart. I'm on their mailing list. They're going with 3 Canadian defensive backs in their secondary. One dude who they just cut a little while back and just brought back. Against an aerial attack like Montreal's, I don't understand that rationale at all.
I was just going to say, there's a little bit of history. There's a little bit of data around that, too, because Rider fans here will remember last season, Tavon Campbell was a game-time decision for a game against the Alouettes, and the Riders never really did adequately prepare to back him up. He ended up not being able to go. They used Kerfella Exume in the secondary, and the poor guy, I'm not trying to pick on him. He had never played that position since high school, and the Riders got absolutely manhandled. You'd think the Red Blacks and other teams would have learned from that.
I just don't know in today's, how do you adequately prepare for losses anymore with the size of rosters being what they are and with a salary cap? Like, you're effectively hoping that somebody capable will stick around a practice roster for a few $100s a week and not just go home and make a living wage doing something else. So what I don't understand about the Red Black situation is they're sitting a more capable player to go with an experiment at Canadian for a guy that just a few weeks ago they deemed wasn't good enough. That's the difference here. It's not that their starter is down because of injury. It's, I don't even want to call it coach's decision. I don't know whose decision it is anymore over there. Is it Dinwiddie's decision? Is it Jeff Reinbold's decision? Is it Sean Burke's decision? I don't know. But you just look at how Ottawa is going about it right now. Are they just auditioning guys to see what they have at 0-9 moving forward? And if that's the case, that's fine because you're not going to win. But 13.5 is a lot of points, but Davis Alexander to Tyson Philpott sounds pretty appetizing there.
Yeah, I think there's experimenting and then there's just being silly, and you wonder if the Red Blacks are doing that with what you're talking about. You've been on the Philpott for MOP train for a while at the midway point of the season. It's probably him or the guy throwing him the football, isn't it?
It really is, and to me it's Philpott. Like, this is all-time stuff he's doing. Like, we're comparing him to what Terry Evanshan did in the 70s, and he's still going to, he's on pace to crush all of those things. It's one of the all-time great CFL single-season stories, regardless of position. Like, the closest thing I can compare what Tyson Philpott's doing as a receiver, and it's an impossible comp. But remember when Cam Wake, out of nowhere, however many years ago it was, just emerged onto the scene, just wrecked the entire league, it seemed, and then went down to the Miami Dolphins and then wrecked the NFL? It almost feels like Tyson Philpott is doing this season what Cam Wake did in his arrival to CFL. And I know it's not, by any means a rookie season for Philpott. It's just been over and over and over and over again. Like in a game, in a profession of consistency, he's doing elite consistently.
And I mentioned that game last year where the Riders secondary got manhandled because they didn't properly prepare, and that's true. It was also because Tyson Philpott's just that good. He had over 200 yards receiving that night in the Riders getting blown out at Mosaic Stadium. One game this week, Edmonton, home to Winnipeg, where the Elks keep marching along at 7-3. You haven't been sold on the Bombers all season. Do you like their chances better because they're playing away from home, maybe?
No, I do not. Look, it's a Winnipeg team whose holes, whose inadequacies, whose issues not only didn't get addressed over the offseason, but now they're very much being revealed. Like, an offensive line that was very long in the tooth last year just got older. And what ends up happening is a kid from Mount Allison University, God bless him, smallest university in the country, Cormier just comes and just knocks Zach Caleros, fresh off returning to the game, right in the back and the ribs and the whatever. Just what you need in the month of August is for your franchise dude to be down for a series and Drew Brown to come into the game. Like, to me, that's a microcosm of who and what the Blue Bombers are. And when your offensive line is like that, you can understand a little bit why there's a hesitancy from Tommy Condell to run the football. And then at the same time, Brady Oliveira actually has production when they do run the football. The Blue Bombers are in an identity crisis right now. Because what's ended up happening, Brendan, is they're not a championship team anymore. Their window is closed. It's shut. It's finished. But they're selling out games. And they're selling out games in large part because the fans know Zach, and they know Willie J, and they know Dembski, and they know the stars that they've come. Brady, they know Brady-O. Like, they've come to know these guys. And so when business at the box office is good, you don't want to disrupt the gravy train, except trains running on gravy don't really get you far. And that's where the Bombers are right now.
I kind of felt like they were running on fumes the moment Jackson Jeffcoat retired, and when Adam Big Hill aged out, and because it was those two and Willie Jefferson, it just seemed like they had this great triangle going on defense, but they've been able to keep their popularity up and their stock up. And that's a good point. Player identification is such a problem for the CFL, but in Winnipeg it's worked really, really well, where they do have some stars that the fans can really identify with. I never thought of that. I thought it was because everybody just loved Wade Miller, but I think that's a big reason for why they sell out as often as they do. Do you see the same sort of thing brewing with Cody Fajardo and the fan base and his team in Edmonton?
I actually don't. I think what they have going on in Edmonton is pretty remarkable. And slowly but surely, people are coming back to Commonwealth, which is a further reminder that it had nothing to do with the name change or any of the excuses everybody kept bringing up. It was the fact that they were dreadful all those years, which is why nobody bothered coming to a professional football game. And who can blame them? Brendan, they're for real, man. They're absolutely for real. And it's interesting, like we talk about Philpott and MOP, the first, 4 or 5 weeks of the year, everybody was talking about Rankin running away, literally and figuratively, with it. And that's kind of transitioned because Justin's taken a little bit of a back seat, but he can still run. He can still fly. He can still catch out of the backfield. He just does it a little bit now. But Fajardo's showing, even with his legs, he can improvise and make some plays. And I still believe that in the West, the best hookup, the best connection in the league, quarterback to receiver, is Fajardo to Austin Mack. It's better than anything BC has. It's better than anything Calgary has. I mean, Winnipeg's just, it was one quarterback, then another, then back to the other. And I don't have to tell people in Saskatchewan about all the receiving injuries you've had. So I actually, on a day they didn't play well, they didn't execute well, their offense really was clunky against Toronto last week, they found a way. And then when it really mattered later on in the second half, they won the football game, ran away with the football game when it really mattered. There's a lot to like there with the Edmonton Elks right now, especially on the offensive side of the football.
I was kind of offended for Eugene Lewis when Ed Hervey made the knock that we don't have any superstars in this league. I thought it was I didn't like the comment myself, but I mean, looking back
ignorant.
on it, it's worked.
It's ignorant. If anybody should know
Ed
better,
does that. And Ed's famous for that. I love Ed's quotes, and I think he's a good GM and everything. But yeah, I mean, but life for him since then has been a lot better than it has been for Geno Lewis. But either or, I'm sure I still wouldn't be surprised if Geno resurfaces and helps somebody this season. Speaking of marching along, even without Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the lineup, the Jays go into Tampa. They won their series with the Rays. Won again today, continuing to do all the things to put themselves back into the playoff conversation with a 7th straight series win. I didn't even notice that till I saw that today.
Yeah, 7th straight series win. And to go into the Trop, that's been, famously John Gibbons called it the House of Horrors. That's what it is. Like, it's a weird place where weird things happen and weird bounces happen, et cetera, et cetera. The Jays take care of business. They get 7 innings out of Shane Bieber. And Brendan, they hadn't gone to St. Petersburg and won a series in Tampa since 2023. It's been 3 full years. And now all of a sudden they're right there in the October conversation. They're doing it with guys who haven't been regulars. They're doing it after they unloaded due to the trade deadline. They're doing it with a lockdown closer in Louis Varland, who did it again today, and they're getting some quality starting pitching. And they've managed to do all of this without the power bat of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. producing for a lot of the season, and now on the concussion list. He won't be available to them for a few more days now. So just, the AL's trash. Just keep plugging away, and you'll really find yourself into a postseason conversation that seemed way far-fetched all of 3 weeks ago.
I like to dream about the good old days when we used to have pennant races, and we have playoff races, not pennant races anymore. And I have long whined and complained about all these wild card teams getting in. Right now, I feel really good about it. That's easy to say when you're a Blue Jay fan. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on this. Do you like the format, the way it is right now in baseball? Would you change a thing?
Yeah, I would, but it's just not going to happen. And all sports have gone down this road too, Brendan, when you think about it.
Except hockey, not the NHL, except the NHL. But
well, kinda. 16 teams still get in. Half the league still gets in. You know? The NFL's expanded the wild card. College football's expanded. They're talking about 96 teams in the NCAA in March Madness. It's revenue.
Yeah.
It's revenue. It's a business. People are watching. People are following. People are paying. I mean, shoot, next year, 8 of the 9 teams in the CFL are getting in.
CFL is going to be the worst. They already are the worst because the majority of teams. The one thing I was going to say is I like to pick on Gary Bettman as much as anybody, and I do believe he's totally overrated. But the one thing I do respect is in the 33 years he's been on the job, there are, 10 more teams, I guess 8 more teams that were approved when he took over, and the playoffs have not expanded like they have with everybody else. So
right, there
if nothing else, I'll give him a little bouquet, I guess. Sticking with the baseball, the Blue Jays, they go from the Trop to the Bronx. The Jays have a big series with the Yankees in New York this weekend. You think there might be some fireworks?
Yeah, so let's go back to what happened Sunday in Toronto. Jose Caballero, who's kind of a pain in the butt, one of those nuisance kind of players, messes around with the pitch clock and this and that. He's the third baseman for the Yankees. Jays are down 2-1. Sack fly situation to Trent Grisham. And here's Josh Smith at third base trying to tag up, trying to see when the outfielder is going to make the actual catch. And it's almost like a box out situation that Caballero has, which is just like, first of all, by rule, it's obstruction. Should have been called, wasn't. I guess if the Blue Jays appealed, they would have called it. Second, it's just like, dude, you just don't do this. It's like, it's just dirty pool, you know? So, not to sound like an old man, Brendan, but like, you know, long ago when we used to walk to school in snowstorms uphill both ways, way back in like the 2010s. On the first at bat of the series in the, not even the 2010s, 2022, Jose Caballero in his first at bat on Friday night would get a 97-mile-an-hour fastball grooved right into his ribs. And I just don't think that's going to happen. And that's just how baseball's changed. You know, I was in the Trop, the House of Horrors, when Kevin Kiermaier, then with the Rays, slid into home plate, collision with Alejandro Kirk. The wristband, the paper inside the wristband came out of Kirk's forearm. And Kiermaier looked down, saw it, picked it up, and took it back. Hey, here's all their calls. Here's how they're going to pitch to us. Later in that series, Kevin Kiermaier's up to bat. Ryan Borucki plunks him. You know, that's just how things would get settled. It doesn't happen that way anymore, even though guys are not pleased with what they saw. Now, I'm interested to see tomorrow night. May that change in New York? We'll see. If it does, just remember where you heard it.
Right. Well, I was going to say, I feel like the Blue Jays have always been treated by the Yankees and their fans as kind of their little kid brother that they've always beat up on more than a rival, and I think that all changed with what happened last October. I'll just ask you before I let you go, do you like the Jays' chances at this point where we sit in mid to late August?
To get in, I do. To get in, I do, because outside of this, if you look at their upcoming schedule with, 35-ish games left to play, outside of this series with the Yankees and one more with New York, there's a couple of Kansas Cities in there, Baltimore, Cleveland. Like, teams are still vying for. There's a Seattle in the mix. Cincinnati, I think they got the Reds left. Like, these are winnable games and winnable series. If you win 7 straight series, you're playing, 667 baseball here. They're in a really good spot. It's amazing. It's 162 games. They all count the same. The first 100 couldn't have gone worse. The next 10 were like, and since here they go. So now let's see. Let's see what's going to happen here, because again, the American League is not strong. It is up for grabs.
Feels like the Jays have come a long way from when Kevin Pillar was here to do the Red Sox dinner, and we were all kind of writing the Blue Jays off early in the season. But, I do a lot of Canada West, U of R Ram radio broadcasts in the fall, and, of course, all the CFL stuff. By the time Sunday rolls around, I'm kind of footballed out, and I don't think anybody can blame me for maybe feeling a little bit anti-American these days because of certain events that have happened. So I hope you're right. And if the Blue Jays can have some success, it just seems to make the fall a little more tolerable around here and give us something to do on Sundays and other nights during the week. Great to chat with you as always, my man. Thanks for this, and we'll do it again next week.
You got it. Appreciate it, bud.
Okay, that is Coast to Coast with Arash Madani. Sounds like he has high hopes for the Toronto Blue Jays, as a lot of us do. Time to break. We'll be back and hear from Saskatchewan Roughrider offensive lineman Jamarcus Hardrick. You are listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM and watching at sportscage.com.
Harvest savings are rolling into Redhead Equipment. Right now, you'll find major markdowns on select in-stock used harvest equipment. Whether you're looking for a combine, header, or other harvest essentials, now is the time to buy. Find the right unit to help you through harvest quickly and efficiently. Stop by Redhead Equipment or visit redheadequipment.ca today. Redhead Equipment, making tracks since 1948.
Gordon tells us why he called Brian Gawley of Smart Investing Solutions.
Well, I actually heard Brian's commercial on CKRM, and at the time I was just retiring, so I was looking for a financial advisor. I would recommend my family, friends, or anybody to contact Brian. He's a super knowledgeable fella.
Don't guess with your money. Call Brian at 306-546-2533. SmartInvestingSolutions.ca.
For 70 years, Freeze Tallman has been more than a building supplier. It's been part of the community. Family owned since 1956, Freeze Tallman is proud to grow alongside the families, builders, and businesses they serve. This milestone is about more than time. It's about trust, hard work, and relationships built to last. Thank you for being part of the Freeze Tallman story. Visit freezetallman.com. Freeze Tallman. Locally owned, family grown, rooted in our community for 70 years.
If you're thinking about a landscape project but not quite sure where to start, hi, I'm Sean from the Rusty Shovel Landscape Shop. That's why we built this place. We help you make the right calls, from choosing materials to understanding how it goes together, so your project turns out the way you want. Whether it's paving stones, retaining walls, or irrigation, our team will help you get it right the first time. Stop by our showroom on the East Vic Service Road or visit therustyshovel.ca. Great projects start at the shovel. The Rusty Shovel Landscape Shop.
Why do people love pickles so much? They'll tell you it's all about that tang. So Taco Time put new tangy dill salsa on a burrito, taco, and deluxe Mexi fries. It's big pickle energy for a limited time. Anytime is taco time. It's a pickle person thing.
The Sports Cage Clutch Performer for Keln Solar. Thinking about saving money by using solar power? Keln Solar is a local family company that can put solar panels on your home, business, or farm. KelnSolar.com.
Keln Solar Clutch Performer. We have our picks, and Colson and I am going to roll with the starting pitcher today for the Toronto Blue Jays. Shane Bieber went 7 strong innings, giving up just the 1 earned run and 4 hits. Not bad for a guy who started the season on, we don't call it the DL anymore, the IL, and he's looking not so bad. He could be a good producer for them down the stretch, 5-2 on the season. But he's my clutch performer of the day in that Blue Jays 5-1 victory down in Tampa.
There we go. I'm giving mine to Matt Tugboat Wilkinson. He had his MLB debut for the Giants yesterday. Originally from, I had it in front of me here, trying to find it, Ladner, BC. And he ended up picking up the win. I think he pitched 2 innings and only allowed 1 hit. So,
I think he pitched for Okotoks, the WCBL.
That is correct. Yeah, that is how I found it out. WCBL made a nice post about it, but yeah. So, got his first start, first win.
Not bad. Yeah. That's a good pick. And, that's a nice story to come from Okotoks. And I've had my own, I don't want to, what do I call it? Misgivings about the Okotoks franchise. As you know, I'm a giant WCBL fan, giant Regina Red Sox fan. Did their webcasts for 4 years. I practically lived at the ballpark. But I'm not a huge fan of some of the things that have come out of Alberta, and including the Okotoks franchise. It seems like they're always trying to run things, and they've added games, and they've shortened the playoffs, things that I don't love. But the truth is, it is good to have them as part of the league, and that is a pretty cool story to have. And there have been a lot of players, even the franchise in Saskatoon, Carter Beck, we know, that's probably the coolest story of them all. In baseball, when it comes to the prospects, is the ultimate crapshoot. That's why it's the one draft that gets like almost zero coverage from American media. I shouldn't say zero, but very close.
Yeah.
Because just to put it into perspective, Ken Griffey Jr. went into the Hall of Fame a few years ago. He was the first overall pick in the first 50 years of the MLB draft to go into the Hall of Fame. And you think, oh, well, I mean, he's a good player, and lots of first overall picks don't make it. Not 1 out of 50. Like most, I shouldn't say most, but a good number of first overall picks in every other league, you probably have a 1 in 3 chance of getting a Hall of Famer. I would think.
1 in 3, 1 in 4, somewhere up there. That's funny because I saw this weird little trivia thing the other day, and it's going to feel like I'm jumping to a different sport here, but
that's okay. You're allowed.
Yeah. So I saw this trivia, and it was who is the only team to draft 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the same draft, and the graphic is showing NFL teams. And so you're like, okay, I can't think of any team that's picked 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the same draft.
Is this a question for me?
Yeah,
I can
take
try to figure it out.
Stab at it. Yeah.
I thought that I would be ripe for this. 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the same draft. Oh, no, that wouldn't work. I was going to say the 49ers, but no, I can't think of any scenario. Can we rule out the 49ers?
You can.
Okay,
you can actually rule out every NFL team, because no one's ever done it in the NFL.
Okay.
In the 1979 MLB draft, the Kansas City Royals selected Dan Marino
I heard you saying that.
and John Elway.
The Kansas City Royals drafted John Elway too? Because John Elway was drafted by the Yankees. I didn't know that he was drafted. But baseball's kind of weird because you can be drafted literally 5 times.
Yeah, because you can go back and then get redrafted the next year.
If you don't sign, you go right back into the draft. And a lot of them don't sign because it gets complicated. Some sports people think, well, why wouldn't you just sign if you're drafted? Well, some of them, if you get drafted low down, you get a very small signing bonus.
Yeah.
And you might say, no, I'll just go back to school or do something else. And not only are you looking after your education and the rest of your life, but you might actually increase your stock. There's a lot of guys who get drafted in the umpteenth round and then they come back a couple years later and they're drafted in the top 5 and they get a much bigger signing bonus. And
so it was the 79 MLB draft. Again, Kansas City. They took Dan Marino in the 4th round and John Elway in the 18th.
And those are high picks in the baseball draft. Like they have a lot. I think, do they do 100 rounds?
They used to. I think they shrunk it recently, didn't they?
They do a lot. But interestingly enough, I didn't know that, by the way. I had no idea that Kansas City drafted Elway. I had no idea that Dan Marino ever got drafted to play baseball. But there are a lot of those athletes do get drafted by MLB. We know about Tom Brady being drafted by the Montreal Expos. We know about, I don't know if everybody knows about Ricky Williams was drafted by the Montreal Expos. It's not just Expos who draft these guys. Russell Wilson was drafted. And I think by and large, unless they get to be a quarterback, they actually choose baseball over football in a lot of cases. The best example that I can think of would be Tim Raines, who was drafted to be, I think, a running back. Or he wasn't drafted, but he was a prospect. The NFL was interested, and he said, no, I'm going to focus on baseball. I don't know if it was the NFL or college. Maybe it was college. Had him penciled in to be a big star running back, and he said, no, I can get paid right now if I just go play baseball. And his health was good enough that he played 24 years in the big leagues, well into his 40s. That never would have happened as a running back in the National Football League. And he probably, I can't imagine he would have made any more money in that era playing in the NFL either. So baseball, contrary, because we don't see the big flashy headlines, baseball, I think, is still the more popular choice with those athletes and probably the smarter and the safer choice. One of the biggest reasons I would love to see CFL players get paid about 3 times what they get paid today and have a few other conditions that would be better, is that we would get more of those guys up here.
Oh, yeah.
There are some guys who are low-level NFL prospects, and when I say low-level, I mean that respectfully. I'm just saying they're not highly sought after, but they're legitimate NFL prospects.
Yeah, practice roster guys.
Sure, or guys who just don't get drafted or get drafted really, really low.
Yep.
Don't get offered much of a signing bonus, not much for guarantees, or they're quarterbacks who get told to go play another position, like receiver, whatever. I feel like we're in an era today when the athlete who has the choice to go to the NFL at another receiver as a low-level prospect, or go to baseball, or come to Canada, is choosing baseball.
Yeah.
Or in some instances, they are choosing the NFL. Tim Tebow chose to be a Double-A prospect in the New York Mets organization instead of coming to Canada. I don't know that he would have been good in Canada, but I would have loved to have found out.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say he totally soiled the sheets. Winnipeg had his rights. Let's say he goes to Winnipeg and he does not do well as a quarterback with the Blue Bombers. I'd have been okay with that too, because that just adds to the credibility and shows everybody what a great league we have up here, and not just anybody can come up here.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if we could just get those players' salaries a little higher, and I don't think too many fans worry about this or care about this, I think if we could get the players' salaries up a little higher, we'd get a few more of those guys. And a good example would be Condridge Holloway, who is a really talented quarterback coming out of the University of Tennessee. He could have played baseball. I don't remember who had his rights. He could have tried to get in the NFL, would have struggled at a different position. Or he could come to Canada and be a quarterback, and that's what he chose to do. This, being a quarterback and getting a decent salary, I think is a big enough drawing card. We could get a few more of those really super elite athletes to choose Canada as a viable option with the NFL and MLB is still on the table if we could somehow get those salaries a little bit higher. I know the commissioner's working on it. Nobody's holding their breath. But
I mean, the bigger TV deal is going to help a bit.
It's going to help a little bit. You know what? A lot of people, I think, are overblowing how much that's going to help. If you do the math on it, if the reports were accurate, I think each team would average out to almost $4 million a year more, which is nice. Don't get me wrong. But the salary cap, I think the players get like 35% of that, maybe 40% of that. So your salary cap goes up a little bit, but not significantly. And then there's going to be other headaches like the coaches that keep whining that they're not paid enough. And I mean that sympathetically. I'm sounding unsympathetic. I am sympathetic. I do like the coaches cap. Maybe we could raise it a little bit. So they're going to get a piece of that, as they should. I don't know that it's going to change much after that. I think that the new TV deal is great news for the CFL. It's an important step, but it's only a step.
Yeah.
They can't feel like our work is done here. They have a long way to go. They have really good committed ownership in this league and owners with really deep pockets. Like, I don't know that the Toronto Argonauts have ever had more well-heeled backers than they do today. I don't know that the BC Lions have ever had a wealthier owner committed than they do today. The same could be true for Montreal. It's the first owner that's francophone in their entire existence. I've done my homework on this. Going back to their founding in the 1940s, it was Anglophone
really?
Until now. Yes,
that
this is the first time.
Me.
Isn't it? But that's because a lot of the rich people in Montreal back in the day were Anglophones and probably still are. So it's important that they have a francophone head of their organization, and they have that now. Same with Ottawa. Somebody was asking, who owns the Ottawa Red Blacks? Well, it's Ottawa Sports and Entertainment. Who is that? Nobody really knows who it is. It's that John Ruddy, who's this really wealthy real estate developer, and there's that Roger Greenberg. I forget where he gets his money from. But these people have really, really deep pockets, so this is a time for the CFL to do whatever adjusting they need to do to try and get to that next level. And I think the TV deal is a good step, but again, it's just a step, nothing deeper than that. And some of those owners won't want to, they won't want to hang on forever, right? Like there's a window here for things to get right in the way it needs to be, and they're just not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Are they making progress? We will see.
Yeah. Before we completely depart from it, there's 20 rounds in the MLB draft.
So they've really cut it back.
Yeah. It was 40 prior to 2020. They cut it back to in 2020.
Are they blaming it on the minor league salaries? Because they have to pay the players in the minors a lot better than they used to now.
I don't have that much info in front of me. But so there's the 20 rounds, plus there's some rounds of compensatory selections and stuff, right, from whatever reasons.
Well, if I lose a player to free agency, then I just get a compensatory pick in return.
Exactly.
Yeah, that comes out of thin air.
Yeah, it's still over 600 picks, which I still think is the largest by far in the North American drafts. But yeah, it used to be 40 or 50 rounds decades ago. So, yeah.
I'm okay with it because it just rewards teams that have a better scouting department, because there's going to be good players out there who don't get drafted, and those scouting departments will find them. Or it could just help the Dodgers become more overinflated than they already are and greedier than they already are, which is probably going to push for the whole salary cap fight that's going to happen. That's why I really want the Blue Jays to get in this year, because could be a bit of a wait. And hey, the last time we lost a season from a strike, the Blue Jays won the championship the 2 years before that. So I don't want a strike to happen, but hey, if it does, it'd be great if the Blue Jays can be defending champs for a little bit longer. But I'm not holding my breath just yet, although the results lately have been encouraging. We'll step aside for a quick timeout, and when we come back, we will hear from Saskatchewan Roughrider head coach Corey Mace as they get set for this weekend's Sunday Night Football showdown in Vancouver against the BC Lions. You're listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM or watching at sportscage.com.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit SaskTel.com/make the call to learn more. Conditions apply.
Why test for asbestos? Because before 1990, asbestos was commonly used in more than 3,000 building materials and other products. Because when asbestos fibers become airborne, they get into the lungs and cause severe damage over time. Because asbestos exposure is the #1 cause of work-related deaths in Saskatchewan. Built before 1990? Test for asbestos. Start at worksafesask.ca.
What's the deal with carpet? You vacuum it every week, and it still acts like it's collecting evidence.
No matter what flooring you need, the experienced local team at Flooring Superstore can help you find the right fit for your home and your budget. Whether it's hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, vinyl, linoleum, artificial turf, floors for gyms, they've got it all.
You know, that's actually a really good deal.
Flooring Superstore. Quality floor covering at the best price. FlooringSuperstoreRegina.ca.
Looking for an affordable way to experience live football in Regina? Regina Rams season tickets are on sale now and include admission to all 4 home games. Bring your family, gather your friends, and cheer on the student athletes who proudly represent our community on the field and in the classroom. Plus, season ticket holders receive new perks, including early entry at Leibel Field and a dedicated entrance at Mosaic Stadium. 4 games, great value. Get your Regina Rams season tickets today at cougarsandrams.com/tickets.
Why do people love pickles so much? They'll tell you it's all about that tang. So Taco Time put new tangy dill salsa on a burrito, taco, and deluxe Mexi fries. It's big pickle energy for a limited time. Anytime is taco time. It's a pickle person thing.
This is Sports Cage. Be part of the show. Call 936-6262 or toll free 1-866-767-0620. 620 CKRM.
Thursday Sports Cage with you, Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz. And is Barney back tomorrow? Is Barney in the chair tomorrow?
Sharky's in the chair tomorrow.
Sharky's in the chair tomorrow.
That's all I've been told.
Glad we straightened that out. That'll be the last show before game day for Sunday Night Football. I wonder if they'll play the Sunday Night Football, or what do they call Football Night in America music before the Riders and BC Lions game. We don't have a whole lot of Sunday night games, for good reason, in the Canadian Football League. They try to do a lot more of it in the summer. I still think that one goal of many that the commissioner should pursue is to create a flurry of games all in the same day. And I've talked about this on this show again, but it bears repeating. It's always going to be tough to do it in the summer. I don't know what the answer is in the summer. They would have to expand by a lot of teams to be able to create anything like that in the summer. But there's nothing wrong with copying what the NFL does or what American college football does or what we had Nick Lewis on earlier, who's from Texas, who loves high school football. The state does. I'm sure Nick does too. And you have a flurry of action on that day. One of those days is your day. And it's worked wildly successful. I still think that there's room for the Canadian Football League to do that maybe in the summer. But if not in the summer, definitely in the fall. And what I mean by that is don't focus so much on having a game on Friday and Saturday or a doubleheader. You always want to have your Friday night football. And don't worry about the American college game because Canadians aren't really watching that anyways, and I don't know that they ever will. Don't go after NFL Sunday because a lot of people are committed to that, so don't even bother trying anymore. It's really exploded since about 2010. Those are the two things that have grown for Canadian TV viewers. It's been soccer, largely because of the MLS, and even the soccer ratings aren't that great, but they've come a long way. And the National Football League, the popularity of the National Football League has exploded, largely, I think, because of the success with the Seattle Seahawks, and so more on the West Coast, and also a little bit with the Buffalo Bills more recently. Toronto fans aren't really married to Buffalo. I think that most people in Toronto look down on Buffalo. I had one guy tell me that Buffalo was an armpit, or the armpit of Southern Ontario. They thumb their nose at them, except when they're winning. And right now, the Bills are a hot brand. So I think that has helped move it along as well. So I don't think you're ever going to have any luck or try to penetrate Sundays. But Saturdays are absolutely there for the taking. And so for the key for the CFL to be able to do that, they would have to get up to 12 teams because you'd have 6 games on that weekend. You'd have a game Friday night. Never want to give that up. And then you do the triple header time slots on the Saturday, and you just load it up, and then you also add a couple of college games. So you can have one primetime game at night, and then you've got 3 games in each time slot during the day. I think that would be a real key for the CFL, especially if they have the franchise in the Maritimes, Quebec City, maybe one more in the Golden Horseshoe. Then you've got every region in the country engaged, and every region has a team playing, usually on Saturday afternoons, because you want to ingrain a habit that becomes part of the culture of Canadians, is that they watch Canadian football on Saturdays. That's just what they do, because if you have the flurry of games on one day, and it happens every week, that's when people get in the habit of tailgating and doing other things. And even if they're not huge fans, they will set aside their Saturdays to do it. And with any luck, you might even football some of these people out before Sunday, which wouldn't be a bad thing either. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are getting set to visit the BC Lions and actually have an opportunity to, if they get some help, jump back into first place in the CFL West if they can pull a victory. I think they're an underdog as we go into the weekend against BC. Eric Anderson has been getting more reps on the offensive line at that left guard spot, and Dave Thomas caught up with him at practice today.
In protection and IDs. Like I said a couple weeks ago, we thought very highly of this guy coming out of Western, and then just having the time, obviously the reps through training camp, and then getting to see some other people do it before he got his opportunities. He's done a really nice job for us, man. So, when his number's called, we expect to be who we are, and he's been doing that.
That's Coach Corey Mace talking about Eric Anderson playing that left guard spot on the offensive line. And Zach Fry has been injured, which has caused them to do a little bit of juggling. because they had to go from Zach Fry, and then behind him, there's Eric Anderson and Daniel Johnson. And it's kind of made some of us wonder if the Riders wouldn't even consider using a 4 American man front, but they haven't gone that far yet, and they're probably challenged to do so because of the ratio issues they have elsewhere, in particular with the injury they had with Tavon Campbell. But the offensive line this week is going to be challenged this week by a very good defensive front 7 of BC, and Coach Mace knows it.
Yeah, man, they got a really good group over there. So it's going to be a tough task, but, one I know our guys are looking forward to. That's what you want. You want to be able to face, the best team, the best players, and in this situation, the best front. Those guys are rolling right now, so it's going to be a good test for us.
And a lot of fans are wondering if Sam Emilus is going to draw back in?
Yeah, it's trending the right way, but you know how it goes. Ultimately, we'll see at the end of the week.
Also, the one kick returner, James Letcher Jr., is trending towards returning, and we might even see him Sunday.
Yeah, same thing. Like those guys, coming off 6 with Letch, is you trying to get the best idea, see if we can give as many reps as possible, see what they can handle, see if they feel like they can do it, and then ultimately, sit down and talk with the docs to see what that looks like. So, kind of the same boat, man. We'll see what that looks like for them towards the end of the week.
Be curious to see if the Riders can get somebody else on returns. Not that Weeb hasn't been doing a good job. I'd like to see Weeb, especially if Emilus can't go, I'd like to see Daniel Weeb get a little more action as part of the offense. I feel like he might be the guy that they need while they're holding down the fort, waiting for some of these injured Canadians like Sam Emilus and like Ian Schaefer-Baker to come back. We will see this weekend. Still ahead on this edition of the program, we will check in with Glen Suitor press coverage before he does his Thursday night football broadcast from Montreal. You're listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM or watching at sportscage.com.
The world is changing. From the misuse of AI and the rise of deepfakes to the dangerous spread of misinformation, it's getting harder for Canadians to separate fact from fiction. That's why having a trustworthy news source is vital. At Global News, we're committed to objective journalism that cuts through the noise. Stick to the facts. Global News, Canada's trusted news.
What's going on in the markets? When is the right time to invest? What should you do with your money today? When Linda had questions, she talked to Brian Golly.
He's always well prepared and has answers for us. We take it as gospel, and he's led us down the right path so far.
You don't have to plan your financial future alone. Call Brian Golly of Smart Investing Solutions. 306-546-2533.
We would recommend Brian anytime, and we would recommend him to anybody.
What's the deal with flooring? Apparently, there are 75 shades of rustic oak.
No matter what flooring you need, the experienced local team at Flooring Superstore can help you find the right fit for your home and your budget. Whether it's hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, vinyl, linoleum, artificial turf, floors for gyms, they've got it all.
If your decorating instincts have always missed the mark, maybe it's time you do the opposite. Visit Flooring Superstore.
Flooring Superstore. Quality floor covering at the best price. FlooringSuperstoreRegina.ca.
Why juggle multiple providers when you can have one seamless experience? On the farm, acreage, or cottage, Access Communications has you covered with internet, TV, and security. One provider, one bill. One reliable rural home solution, backed by our great customer service. Get internet and Wi-Fi that hold up in tough weather, plus TV anywhere with Access Next TV. And security you can monitor from your phone. You can have it all with Access. Sign up today and save $20 per month when you combine services. Visit myaccess.ca.
Have you seen the patio at Pump Jack's Cathedral?
Seen it? I've practically moved in.
Do they at least charge you rent?
Only if I stop ordering food.
I don't blame you. Great food, daily food and drink specials.
30 beers on tap, including local favorites.
And there's no better place to catch the game with friends.
So what are we waiting for?
I'm waiting for this conversation to be over. Let's go.
On the corner of Albert and 13th, Pump Jack's Cathedral Saloon and Steakhouse. Come early, stay late. The place where friends meet.
It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Extreme Hockey and Sport, 1425 McIntyre Street, the Cooperator Center, Moose Jaw Temple Garden Center, and online at extremehockey.net.
Well, don't look now, but the Toronto Blue Jays are coming with their 7th straight series win, a victory over the Tampa Bay Rays this afternoon. 5-1 victory, getting 3 home runs and 7 strong innings of 4 hit, 1-run ball from Shane Bieber, who's now 5-2 on the season. And the Blue Jays fighting their way back, just 3 games under 500. And who knows, if they have a really good series in the Bronx this weekend, they could be back up to that mark. Just 1 game in the Canadian Football League tonight. The 0-9 hapless Ottawa Redblacks go to visit the 8-1 Montreal Alouettes. The point spread 13.5, which might be a record for the season. I still think that's probably generous, but somebody would make some money, and generous toward the Redblacks. Somebody would make some money if Ottawa gets a victory here tonight, and that is our sports ticker for this Thursday. Time to check in with the good folks out at Flowing Springs. Our good friend Brian Raymond joins us on the Western Pizza Hotline. Brian, I don't want to give away your age, but do you remember hearing Dale Isaac broadcast Regina Pat games in the mid-'70s on the radio?
The mid-'70s were just a little bit before I got here. I got here in '76. By that time, I think he was already at CKTV.
There you go. Well, probably the greatest sportscaster in Regina's history, according to Don Hewitt, and I'd probably have to agree. I remember doing Sports Journal in the early 90s. Perfect weather out at Flowing Springs. It's been a pretty good summer so far, I think you'd have to say.
Oh, absolutely. Today was just absolutely perfect. Hardly any wind. Nice, warm day. Everything works better, when it's warm out. But and the course is in fantastic shape right now, so it's a great place to play golf, or even come out and practice, whatever you want to do. But the golf course is fantastic.
I grew up on a farm, and I used to look after our lawn, and I used the push mower, and it was an obsession of mine to have perfect grass. I don't know that I've seen grass at Flowing Springs better than we've seen this year.
We have a really good maintenance staff, right from our superintendent to our greenskeeper. They do a great job keeping the course green. And we've had the same people cutting grass out there probably for the last 15 years. So they know their job, and they do a heck of a job keeping the course nice. And if we want to book a tee time out at Flowing Springs for a group or otherwise, how do we get in touch? All you have to do is give us a call at 306-543-5050. And you can book online through our website at flowingspringsgolf.com. Beautiful. You going to watch the Riders on Sunday? Of course. I thought they looked a little bit tentative in their game in Hamilton, and it kind of made me think of a hockey analogy. When you go into, what do they say, you never ease into a street fight? I feel like we need to see a little more fight out of them, kind of that hockey style, especially if they don't have MLS. Somebody's got to pick up the slack. I thought they looked a little disorganized. I think we're finally seeing the results of all the injuries and new people in the lineup. I think we've got some great new talent, but it takes a little bit to get everything online so that, it's all coordinated. You know how that works. Yes, sir. Well, hopefully they'll fight through it like any good hockey squad or CFL squad would. Brian, this has been great. We'll talk again next week. Sounds good, Brendan. Take care. Have a great weekend. Go Riders. You betcha. That is Brian Raymond from Flowing Springs, and some great weather for golf this summer. And I know it's long been known that Saskatchewan has more golf courses per capita than anywhere else, either in North America or in the world. And it makes perfect sense because our seasons are so short. You really got to get after it. I've talked to people. I remember there was a pitcher. Dowdy was his name. Grant Dowdy, I think was his name, for the Regina Red Sox, who came from Arizona. And he had lived his whole life in Arizona, except he came up here to play summer ball more than once. And he went to his university at Minot State. And I said, this is so bizarre. What is a kid from Arizona spending all this time, where we have winter? Like most of us wish we were in Arizona. And he said, oh, dude, the heat and the novelty, it wears off. I need seasons. So we're very lucky to have seasons. And I think the fact that we have seasons actually make our summer so much better, and why we get after it and do a lot more golfing and have some better golf courses, quite frankly, than you'll even find in some of these other locales.
The seasons will be better if we just didn't have construction in there too, but Well, and because we have such a limited construction season, it's a bit of a nightmare, especially getting around the city, and it has been this summer. But hey, it could be worse. They could be doing no work at all. Yeah. So I don't think anybody would be happy with that either. Nope. Up next, Hour 3, we will do press coverage with Glen Suitor. You are listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM or watching at sportscage.com.
This is 620 CKRM Regina, the voice of Saskatchewan, a Harvard media station. Streaming everywhere at 620ckrm.com.
The news is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of Saskatchewan's biggest selection of Ram trucks and Jeeps. CrestviewChrysler.ca.
It's 5 o'clock. Good evening. Partly cloudy and 27 degrees in Regina. I'm Will Manzik from the SAS Today newsroom with 620 CKRM News. Regina police have identified the remains of a man found buried in a Regina backyard. The remains have been identified as 34-year-old Wayne Joseph Breed. His remains were found back in June on the 1300 block of Ritalik Street. Regina Police Chief Laura Lee Davies says Breed never popped up in their database.
Wouldn't have been reported as missing on our systems. Obviously, anytime there's a missing person report, that file stays open until we get information, and so we didn't have any report of him being a missing person here in Regina.
Davies thanks the public as they helped lead them to identifying the man. Harvest progress in Saskatchewan remains slow, according to the weekly provincial crop report. Harvest has reached 4% complete last week, as scattered showers and thunderstorms moved across the province. The southwest has the most progress at 9%, while east central areas are at 1%. Rainfall varied widely, with more than 100 millimeters reported in parts of the southeast. Moisture improved some soil conditions, but humidity shortened harvest windows. The province's crop remains behind the 5-year average, though slightly ahead of last year. Premier Scott Moe says a tentative trade agreement with the U.S. should provide greater certainty for the province and Canada. Moe says negotiators need to secure better access to Canada's largest trading partner while reducing tariffs affecting industries such as steel and aluminum. He says those sectors face the greatest impact from current tariffs. Moe also says this emphasized the importance of expanding trade opportunities.
As we know, our province exports today to 163 countries around the world. We have some of the, if not the highest per capita GDP numbers, the highest per capita export numbers of not only any province across Canada, but virtually any state or province across North America.
Moe also says Prime Minister Mark Carney asked premiers to put American alcohol back on store shelves to help advance the agreement. 2 Regina youths are facing firearm charges after police found 3 loaded homemade firearms on a city transit bus. Police were called around 5:30 Tuesday evening after a youth was seen waving a gun inside a bus. Officers located 3 children ages 11, 14, and 15 near Park Street and Victoria Avenue. The 14 and 15-year-olds are jointly charged with several firearm offenses. Police also seized bear mace and ammunition. No injuries were reported, and the pair appeared in court yesterday. That's 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sastoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
Matt Fisher here, General Manager at Crestview Chrysler. You know, our staff here is the best in town, so anytime they're ready for a new vehicle, they get the best price. For a limited time, we're giving that same discount to you. And you know what that means. You pay what we pay. We got a huge selection of Ram trucks, Wranglers, Durangos, Pacificas, and everything in between. If you're shopping for something new, this is officially the best time to stop in and see us. Don't miss employee pricing at Crestview in Regina.
Weather for Next Gen Coatings. Spray coatings for truck bed liners, rocker panels, and more. Same company, new name. 1865 McCarra Street, Regina. And Kevin's Marine. Make the most of summer with a boat or pontoon from Kevin's Marine in Fort Capel. kevinsmarine.com.
In your precision weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, a northwest wind between 10 to 20, a low of 14. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, a northeast wind between 15 to 25 kilometers an hour, a high of 27. Tomorrow night's low, 11. Saturday, mostly sunny, a southeast wind between 10 to 20, a high of 27. Sunday, partly sunny, scattered showers and thunderstorms, a high of 30. And Monday, mostly sunny, a high of 29. Across the province at this hour, Saskatoon 26, Swift Current 27, Assiniboia 27, Broadview and Moosomin 25, Yorkton and Melville 24, Estevan 26, Weyburn 28. Right now in Moose Jaw, it's partly cloudy. There's a northwest wind of 13, gusting to 35, and it's 28 degrees. In Regina, it's partly cloudy. There's a northwest wind of 13, and it's 27 degrees. For more local news that matters to you, subscribe to the daily newsletter at sasktoday.ca.
For over 40 years, you've known them as Regina's trusted vehicle protection specialists. Now they're introducing the next gen of coatings. New name, new level of protection. They're now Next Gen Coatings. 3 generations of their family have served your family, and that hasn't changed. Same owners, same commitment, ready for the next gen of truck beds, rocker panels, trailers, bumpers, and running boards. The company hasn't changed, just the name. Next Gen Coatings, 1865 McCarra Street. The next gen starts now.
At Kevin's Marine, the lineup is stacked and ready. Legendary Lund boats built for serious fishing and non-stop family fun. Stretch out, crank the tunes, and cruise in style on a brand new pontoon from Bentley or Crest. Or drop the throttle and make waves in a 4-wind sport boat. All powered by trusted Mercury 4-stroke motors. Right now, manufacturer rebates, dealer discounts, and low payment financing. Make decking easy with Shoremaster aluminum docks and lifts. Visit Kevin's Marine in Fort Capel or kevinsmarine.com.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz on hour 3 of this Thursday Cage. We'll have Glen Suitor in moments, but first I wanted to get on the Prairie Mobile text line. Travis in Regina says we're going to have a quadruple header on a Saturday coming up on September 12th. First time since 95, I think it said, and that's probably correct. I didn't bother to fact check any of that, but I believe it because I was a hardcore fan during that time, and that's when the CFL had the most teams we've ever had in this league, where there were 13. 94 and 95 were the glory heyday, in my view, because we had 12 teams one year, 13 the next, and you actually had a flurry of games. Now, that is good that there will be that quadruple header, but what I'm talking about more is more games, and I think... I don't think 4 is enough, and I want them to all be backed. I want 2, maybe 3 time slots. I want 3 games on TV at once that I can flip around to. Simulcast, and also one of them can be college. That's fine. You can pick 2 really high-powered college games to put on. One of them could be like a Canada West game, Saskatchewan versus UBC. If Montreal is playing Laval, you're probably going to put that on, etc. And it gives the ability to flip. And this kind of became a revelation to me when my wife and I were watching CFL semifinal Saturday, and there was Canada West football happening at the same time, and we're flipping back and forth, and none of the teams involved were teams that we cared about. But I said, I feel like I'm kind of like NFL, but I get this Canadian football experience. And I love Canadian football much more than I will ever love the NFL. And she even agreed, yeah, you're kind of right, because you can flip around. And I think if you have 3 games at once, not only does it give you the ability to do that, you open up Red Zone TV, which is very popular and has been a boon to the National Football League as well.
There is actually 2 games this year at the same time. So it's the first time they're doing that, but it's the last 2 games of the year. They're at the same time, so you could channel flip on those ones. I don't think anyone will, though, because it's the Riders in Edmonton, which should be just...
Everybody's watching.
Yeah, that should be for first place, right, in the West.
Maybe. We'll see.
Fingers
crossed.
Yeah. So either way, it should be a great game, potentially with big playoff implications, and the other one's Ottawa-Hamilton. So very few people are going to be watching that
Unless, to be fair, that game could theoretically determine if the Ticats get in or out. And the Red Blacks might be playing better by that point, and they'll be loosey-goosey because they have nothing to play for, and sometimes that helps. But
yeah, I just think it's hilarious how the last 2 games that are playing at the exact same time have 2 teams in both of them in the exact opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right.
Like, you could never have planned that.
Yeah, right. And it's not going to hurt the Rider Elks game, but it could very well hurt the Red Blacks Tiger Cats game, though I don't know how many people would be watching that anyways, even if it wasn't backed with the Rough Rider Edmonton game. Let's get to Suits.
Time now for press coverage with CFL and Saskatchewan Roughrider legend Glen Suitor on the Sports Cage. Brought to you by Freeze Tolman Lumber. Locally owned, family grown, rooted in our community for 70 years in Regina and Fort Capel.
Suits, I put on my Ottawa Roughriders 1992 jersey, Tom Burgess. They didn't do a very good job. I'm getting the angles wrong, of the Canada 125 patch, but other than that, I think it looks pretty good. The silver, I think, is about the only good thing that the Gleibermans did in their time in the CFL, and it's too bad that it had to fade away as quickly as it did. And oddly enough, when I've done this show, I think it's the third time I've worn something Ottawa Roughrider-esque, and they've always been sort of my second favorite team, and it's not that I have any affinity for the people of Ottawa or the city of Ottawa. I've always just wanted this brand, this football franchise, I know they're the Red Blacks now, to be relevant in some way, shape, or form. And it's amazing how the more things change, the more they stay the same. When I was a kid in the 90s, they were totally irrelevant. And here we are in 2026, and it kind of feels the same way right now. Can you give me anything that makes me feel like, or that would make us feel like, the Red Blacks, the team you'll be broadcasting tonight, have some relevancy despite their 0-9 record?
Well, I'm holding up a chart here that I've prepared for this game tonight, and when I look at it, what I'm trying to find, I mean, let's be honest. I don't want to pretend that there's really a chance in any way really for Ottawa to somehow upset this juggernaut offense in Montreal, this great defense. They get all their starters back on D, basically. And the Ottawa starting lineup on defense is brand new guys. You basically need a program to figure out who these guys are. Draft picks from last year, playing in the secondary, starting, so there's a lot of sort of reasons that the point spread is 2 touchdowns, basically, of Montreal. However, it's also my job in a telecast to point out some of the building blocks that this Ottawa team has. And if I look on offense, their receiving core has some real building blocks. I mean, first of all, Aiden Eberhard we know him from the Lions days, and now he's been the number 1 target in Ottawa, and he's a player. Khalil Pimpleton is if they could probably leave him more in the return game, he could be dangerous, so dangerous there. I know they want to use him more on offense now, but sometimes that dilutes both. So we'll see, but he is a player. Justin Hardy, we know, a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. And I think Canadian-wise, Keelan White, I'm not sure if he could get to the Tyson Philpott level. That's pretty astronomical right now. But I think he can be a 1,000-yard, consistent 1,000-yard receiver based on his skill set. And the fact that I know his dad, Richard White, and was a teammate of mine in Saskatchewan and at SFU. So I know the family quite well. And he's an outstanding young man that studies his butt off. So on offense, there's some building blocks. If you're looking into, as an Ottawa fan, you're going, what can I look forward to? Linebacking core, Niles Morgan, CJ Rivas, who Riders know very well, and Lucas Cormier, who has been excellent in the last couple of weeks. AJ Allen is part of that rotation. And, when I look at those guys, I think there are some building blocks here. And Niles Morgan, I talked to this week, who said he went through this in Edmonton a couple of years ago when they started 0-for, I think it was 0-for-8 was there until they won a game. And he feels like the pieces to the puzzle in Ottawa are more in place there than they were in Edmonton at that time a few years ago. And we've seen Edmonton corner this year. So that's a long-winded answer, Brendan, for Ottawa fans to find some building blocks that they can look at and say, okay, we know what we got this year. Try to get a win, maybe an upset win if you can. Tonight would be a great start if we can keep it close even to the fourth quarter. That would be outstanding. But, they're in tough tonight. There's no question. I mean, I'm not going to try and be a half-full guy when the glass is virtually empty here in this one.
Well, on some of the odds makers are saying that 12.5 seems to be a little bit long, that it should be a little bit tighter than this because the Red Blacks love their garbage time, whereas I was thinking the other way. I was thinking if there's a game that could have a 20-point spread, this might be it, just because Montreal is so good and the Red Blacks have struggled so badly this season. I'm going to throw a little bit of trivia at you, and it'll be a bit of a segue on this. You played through, I know you didn't play the last year of the American expansion era, but your Saskatchewan Roughriders were right around 500 against the American teams, did really well at home, not so good on the road down in the States. And I remember this. I tallied it up myself, and then I double-checked it as a fact check. You guys won one game in the United States. Do you remember which city that was in? And I know I'm putting you on the spot. Which American team did you visit and beat in their own backyard? And I can go through them. Yeah.
Still playing at that time is what you're saying.
You were, yeah. And I'll give you a hint. The first year it was just Sacramento. The next year, and the last year you didn't play, there was Memphis and Birmingham and San Antonio. Sacramento became San Antonio. So the year I'm talking about is 1994. You would have had to go on the road and won in Las Vegas, Sacramento, or Baltimore, or I wanted to play that. Yeah, there you go. You got it. I was going to play one of those country songs of down in Louisiana or whatever. That's the one place. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I know a lot of people are saying they've broken the record. The Red Blacks have broken the Shreveport Pirates record. They won, or they lost 14 in a row all in the same season. Now the Red Blacks have done it spread over 2 years. But those Pirates teams were bad, and really bad, and badly organized, and it was kind of nice because it proved that just because they have all-American roster doesn't mean that they're better than our roster. That's half Canadian, half American. But either or, once that comparison came out, it really hit me that this is a historically bad football team. But I see where you're coming from in trying to look for interesting storylines in this game, because that's your job as the broadcaster, and I've had to do that, and I actually kind of enjoy that. I feel like I would be really excited to be in the booth for a game like this tonight, because if it's a close game, what a story that would be if the Red Blacks actually went in and pulled this off.
Yeah, first of all, going back to Shreveport really quickly there, and if you're from or know people in Shreveport, I don't take offense by this, but not only was it a bad football team, but it was a city where when you got in the cab, and this is based on a true story, you got in a cab and you talked to the cab driver because you noticed that he had a gun strapped to the side of his chair. And you said, "What's that for?" And he said, "Oh, you have to carry a gun around this neighborhood." And it was right near the stadium. And I was just, it was the first time I really got that close to that kind of atmosphere and that kind of concern around the gun ownership discussion. Listen, I'm not going to get political now, but it was a tough city is what I'm saying, and not a good football team. But yeah, you're right. Like here's a storyline that I'm looking at with Ottawa. Eric Cumberbatch was drafted in the round last year by Ottawa, and King Ambers was drafted in the 8th round last year. Both are going to start in the secondary. Both are Canadian. One went to Texas A&M Commerce. The other was an Ottawa GG. So you're looking at two Canadians that are starting in the secondary tonight. And if they pan out, if they can become, the next Terrell Ford, possibly, and they can be starters in the secondary. And then you have Keelan White on offense. You look for, a couple of ways everyone wants to increase their O-line. I just look at it and go, there are some building blocks that Ottawa fans can look at and try and get excited about it for the future. Cormier's another one, Canadian. Alonzo Adai is a safety for them, another Canadian. So you're looking at basically in the secondary of 6 guys, including that one cover linebacker, you're looking at 4 of them that are Canadians. And if you can do that on defense and maybe add one lineman, and Baldonado is an international, you add one lineman, and you've got a lot of flexibility in your American ratio. So Ryan Dinwiddie can build off that. But for tonight, they better throw the anchor out and hang on, because they're in Montreal and they're playing against Davis Alexander and Tyson Philpott and Cole Speaker and the rest of this group with a solid defense. And, if they're going to win this game, Brendan, or even be close in it, Ottawa's defense has to have its best game possible, not give up any deep balls, and have its best possible game. Just play like it doesn't matter, because nothing to lose. There's only one way to go here for Ottawa.
Whenever a coordinator takes over, sometimes it takes a few weeks for things to really take shape the way they want it. And unless I've missed anything, the understanding I've had is that when Jeff Reinbold took over, what Dinwiddie really wanted him to do was just focus on the basics and do what you know how to do, just do it better, and stop trying to be so elaborate. And I think that may have led to some of the friction between the guy who was there before running the defense, Fields. But in thinking about how Dinwiddie had so much success in Toronto, and it has not gone that way so far in Ottawa, a couple things come to mind. Number one, we always think that a head coach is a genius when he's having success, and we always treat him like he's a complete moron when he's not. And I think the truth is Dinwiddie's never been either. He probably he did a good job with Toronto, but he had some things working in his favor. And just like in Ottawa, I don't think he's a complete fool either, because the team isn't doing well. There's a lot of issues in Ottawa that have been persistent for quite some time. But one thing that does jump out at me is it seems like when a team is doing so badly, the coach sometimes does a 3rd and 4 gamble where it's not that he's gambling, but he's throwing the football or he's taking chances, and he is not properly understanding that this is not a mentally tough squad. This is a squad that is capable of winning, but they are very mentally fragile, and sometimes you have to be a little more conservative. I just felt like when Chris Jones went back to Edmonton, we saw a lot of that. He would take a lot of risks, and they would go the wrong way, and they just kept losing, and it didn't go well for him, and his stock has dropped enormously as a result. And I feel like there's some of that with Dinwiddie in Ottawa. He thinks he's still coaching the same mentally tough team he had in Toronto, but they're not that mentally tough in Ottawa. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's the point. It really is. How does the coaching strategy and in-game management change when you have a fragile team? When you have a team that when something goes wrong, they are going to automatically start, and this is human nature, and it happens to pro athletes too, they're automatically going to start with this self-doubt, like this here we go again, and this is going to happen to us again, and now we're down, and one bad decision or bad play or bad outcome turns into 3 or 4 in a row, and now you're down by 2 scores, and now the offense has to change their strategy and put the ball in the air more, or at least they think they have to. I think at the end of the day, I hope that Dinwiddie, and this is the way I used to do it with my minor hockey league 10-year-old team, 12-year-old team that would, get excited about the game. And I'd say, listen, this is, I want you to envision this. You're at the bottom of a huge staircase. At the top of the staircase is the win. That's where the win lies. But every stair has a different challenge. So on the first stair, it might be slippery. The second stair, it might have gravel. The third stair might be open in the middle and only the sides are worthy of standing on. The next stair, every stair has a different challenge. And if you take your eyes off the stair in front of you and look up at the goal, which is to win, you're going to slip. And when you slip, you're going to slip back down the stairs you just climbed up. And that just was a way to try and get these young guys to visualize that you can't win a football game or a hockey game in one play or one period or one shift. You have to take care of the details and step back to that very first stare. And that very first stare might be the opening kickoff. Where's my lane? What do I have to do? Get down the field, break down, make sure I get the guy on the ground if I'm on the cover team. That's all you got to think about until the next play. And so I hope that Dinwiddie is doing that. According to my conversation with Niles Morgan, who again has been through this before, he said that's exactly what they talked about. What they did was they asked the players-only meeting where the players were told by Niles to get a piece of paper and write down what you think the issue is with our team. And he said it was amazing how similar all the pieces of paper looked when they were handed in. All these guys were seeing the same thing. And they said, that's an example of how close we are. We're really close. So I don't know if that helps you as a former Ottawa fan, Brendan, but it really does come down to the details. And, how many times has it got inside the 10-yard line and had to settle for field goals?
So many times.
This season, no. It's crazy. It's like unheard of. It's less than 50% in the red zone. It's like that's where they're turning the ball over, or they're not making it and they're kicking short field goals. Like, let it loose. Take care of the details. If you have a 10-yard out, don't be at 9 and don't be at 11. Be at 10, and take care of that. And if everybody does that, this could be. Well, no. Now you got me thinking about that they have a chance.
Well, there you go. See, I got you hyped up. And listen, I think that today's Red Black should be thrilled that I'm wearing an early 90s Ottawa Roughriders with the Flaming R's jersey, because they would love to be compared to that team right now. They would love to have 4 wins in a season. They would love to be as good as Dexter Manley and all the rest that came with it. But, Hey, I wanted to talk to you a bit about the Roughriders. Are you doing the game Sunday in Vancouver, the Riders-Lions? Yeah, you're there.
What a Condor's pregame hype.
yeah, right. Well, I was curious when we did the TV show this week, Marshall and I, Hamilton, and we all took the Lions this weekend. And it's very rare that ever happens, where everybody goes against the Roughriders. Even the crew, for crying out loud, took the Lions this weekend. But the one thing that we really noticed in the Roughrider loss in Hamilton is it just seemed like Harris was not on with his receivers that he did have, like Keyshawn Johnson even. But there was one play in particular where he's running. He's got tons of room to run. And I know they don't want him running very much. As a Rider fan, I wouldn't want him running very much either. But he had the sideline, like it was all there, and he was checking it down to Star Thomas, the new running back. And I just felt like that was his game where he really was check down Charlie. And if they had a few more plays where he could have cut it loose, or they had been in sync with the receivers a little bit more, they would have walked out of there with a victory. I felt like they held it together really well the week before, but this week is where those injuries to the receiving corps really let them down, really came through.
Yeah, I can all share in the loss, and all can take a little bit of accountability in the loss. There were too many special teams penalties that changed field position. The defense gave up some plays. Didn't keep Trey Ford in the pocket when they needed to. There's enough blame to be kind of spread around to the entire team and coaching staff. But I think you're right in the fact that maybe the injuries in the receiving corps kind of caught up to them in the explosion plays. When you have Keyshawn Johnson, Emelis, and Keon Schaefer-Baker, any one of those three can get on top of the coverage in a split second. And so all those options, and it's even before the ball is snapped, they are creating an issue for DBs in their mind. Like they're looking at, if you're playing the half field and you're on defense and you see Keon Schaefer-Baker and Emelis, and one of them streaks down the sideline, you've got to respect that. You got to get back there deeper. It pushes you off. You play against a real good receiving corps. And I'm not saying the backups aren't good. They're going to have their day, but they're just young and inexperienced. And they're not Keon. They're not Sam Emelis. And when you get all those guys going together, those explosion plays are there. And we've seen all season Trevor Harris take advantage of them. I don't know the exact numbers at this point. I will by Sunday. But, I bet you if you looked at it, the drop-off in the big plays down the field dropped off when those guys got hurt, which was okay when they played Ottawa. They got through it, and Trevor was on and threw for 400. But that was Ottawa, a struggling team with a lot of self-doubt, and this was a different case in Hamilton. So what happens with the BC Lions on Sunday?
Yeah, Ottawa never really seems like the appropriate measuring stick. I'm not saying that to put them down, but that's kind of what we've been seeing all season long. I'll be curious to see if Daniel Wiebe gets more involved with the offense, but I know they've got him returning kicks, and we'll see how it all pans out. You know what? I know that you're getting ready to do a broadcast, so we'll let you go soon, but I was going to tell you, Montreal's my favorite city in Canada outside of Saskatchewan, maybe including Saskatchewan, and Baton Rouge is one of my favorite restaurants, and Dunn's, where you get the Montreal smoked meat. What's your favorite eatery or watering hole in Montreal? You must have a few.
Well, Schwartz's Deli is the biggie, and from where we stay, which is at the West and downtown. It's quite the cab ride to get all the way to Schwartz's Deli, but I make the effort. And I get up there because it's the smoked meat sandwich that couldn't be more. But every time I'm in the city, I got to go and get one. But that's a favorite. And going into Old Montreal, very cool. I can't remember the name of the restaurants in there that we've visited, but it is a nice perk of this job to be in these great cities and be able to, visit different spots. And I'm a big fan of this city as well. It looks like it's going to be a big crowd despite the competition that's in here tonight. But, yeah, it's a great city, Brennan, and I love the jersey, man. Love it. Maybe.
Awesome. That's why I put on. This is just for you, Suits. Hey, listen, thanks for this, and have a good broadcast tonight, okay?
Okay. Thanks, Brennan.
Okay, that is press coverage with Glen Suitor, and we'll take a break and come back with more of the Sports Cage. You were listening to Rider Radio 620 CKRM and watching at sportscage.com.
Rider Nation lives on 620 CKRM. I'm Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Sunday is game day as the Riders take on the BC Lions. Countdown to kickoff with Tegan Whitco and Wes Cates is at 2. The pregame show's at 4. And kickoff with Luke Mullender and I is at 5. Saskatchewan Roughrider football and the Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network is brought to you by UFA, Steelcraft Doors, Stars Lottery, Salford Group, and Sask NDP Caucus. Stream every moment of Rider football at Sportscage.com.
Remember when you were out there having some tomfoolery, riding in the back of Grandpa's pickup truck with your friends with no padding or seatbelts? What isn't tomfoolery is where you get your tires. Go to your local Cooper tire dealer. They carry Cooper Discoverer Road and Trail AT tires. They have a durable tread that helps resist cutting, cracking, and tearing that occurs on rough trails. Have your vehicle ready for the road before you are. Visit your local Cooper tire dealer and ask for Cooper Discoverer Road and Trail AT tires.
Why juggle multiple providers when you can have one seamless experience? On the farm, acreage, or cottage, Access Communications has you covered with internet, TV, and security. One provider, one bill. One reliable rural home solution. Backed by our great customer service. Get internet and Wi-Fi that hold up in tough weather. Plus TV anywhere with Access Next TV. And security you can monitor from your phone. You can have it all with Access. Sign up today and save $20 per month when you combine services. Visit myaccess.ca.
Hello, Clarice.
It's Brittany.
Have the lambs stopped screaming?
Those aren't lambs, that's my garage door. I don't know why it's making that sound.
I hope you called Busy Bee Doors. They can fix or replace any commercial or garage door.
I did, and?
Brittany? Paul from Busy Bee. What's with the old guy on the dolly?
Ugh, ignore him.
I do wish we could chat longer, but...
Busy Bee Doors, the garage door specialists.
Get it hot, get it fast, Western Pizza.
You know how the best plans always seem to happen at the last minute? Friends stop by, the family's finally all home. Suddenly, it's pizza night with Western Pizza. Pile on the pepperoni, smoky ham, crispy bacon, and loads of melty cheese. Then make it even better with tender ribs, hearty lasagna, or delicious souvlaki on the side.
Western Pizza. Dine in or take out today.
And get it hot. get it fast. Western Pizza.
Thinking about tackling your own landscape project this year, but not totally sure where to start? Hi, I'm Sean from the Rusty Shovel Landscape Shop. We work with DIY homeowners every day, helping you figure out what to use, how it all goes together, and how to avoid the stuff that can trip you up. Whether it's a patio, artificial turf, sprinklers, or adding some lighting, we'll help you make the right calls. Let's build a plan together. Great projects start at the shovel. The Rusty Shovel Landscape Shop. 2 green thumbs up.
Why do people love pickles so much? They'll tell you it's all about that tang. So Taco Time put new tangy dill salsa on a burrito, taco, and deluxe Mexi fries. It's big pickle energy for a limited time. Anytime is taco time. It's a pickle person thing.
Welcome back to Sportscage. Missed any part of the show? Check out the podcast powered by Freeze Tolman at 620ckrm.com and sportscage.com.
Brennan McGuire and Colson Schultz on this Thursday Sports Cage. And Sharky is in tomorrow for the Friday edition, and they'll get you all set for the game this weekend. By the way, pregame show on Sunday is at 2 o'clock Saskatchewan time. I got a little bit zoned out there because I was thinking Pacific time, but that doesn't matter to us. Kickoff at 5 o'clock here on Rider Radio. We mentioned earlier in the show, Dale Isaac, who was maybe the most prominent CFL reporter of all time to come out of Regina, will be on that edition of the show. But it is time for the sprinkle of the day. And Colson and I have been talking all day long about the ridiculous spread for the Montreal-Ottawa game, which is probably the most interesting part of this game. It's basically 2 touchdowns. Some people think that that's too spread out, too much of a blowout, especially because Ottawa does do pretty well in garbage time. I hear from experienced gamblers. I think 2 touchdowns is probably generous the other way. I think that if there's a game that's like an 18 or 20 point favorite, this would be it. Montreal really is. Montreal's not only the best team in the league right now, they might be the best team that we've seen since the pandemic, and Ottawa might be the other way, the worst. And it happens to be in Montreal. This is the blowout of the year right here. But we don't get to pick on that one because
that game took too long.
Took too long, and that game is getting underway. So what I would have taken is I would have picked Montreal even to cover that spread. But I'm really, really hoping that the Red Blacks can make a game of it tonight because, boy, what a story that would be if they beat the Alouettes. My guess is even if they keep it close, they will blow it somehow like they always do.
Yeah. Well, other games that we've got are next this weekend is the Elks and Bombers.
I like that game from a picking standpoint. And actually, because I think Drew Brown is going to start in that game, I'm not sure if we know that officially. The favorite, the over-under is interesting.
59.5.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little high, especially if Drew Brown ends up not playing. And Edmonton's offense, I don't know that they're going to set the world on fire in this game either. Winnipeg looks a lot better when they're away from home than they do at home. Nobody knows why. It's just one of those weird things. And Edmonton is a 5-point favorite. So I'm going to make a couple calls on this game. I'm going to say pick Edmonton to cover the 5-point spread and pick the under on that over-under of 59.5. But that's just me.
Yeah. I would also say Edmonton's going to cover. I don't know about the under because when Edmonton gets going, they can get going. I expect Winnipeg will put up at least 15, 18 points, something like that. So that should get them close enough. But I don't know. I don't think I would touch the over-under. But I agree with Edmonton.
That's a good one. And Hamilton, I'm only going to pick. The Argos are favored by 4.5. I don't know who to pick on that one. All I know is Trey Ford had a good game last week, so you know he's going to soil the sheets this week because he never puts back-to-back games together.
Yeah, and I would take the under on this one, 61.5. I don't think between Chad Kelly's inability to throw the pass to his own team and, Trey Ford not putting together another solid performance, I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in this one.
Even if he does put together a solid performance, I don't know that they're going to reach the 61.5, so I would take the under on that too.
Yeah.
There you go. There's our sprinkle of the day. You wanted to add one more?
We want to look at the Riders and Lions?
Why not? Why wouldn't we? And so BC is favored by 1.5. I would pick BC to cover. I picked them to win on my own TV show. That said, if Sam Emelis draws into the lineup, that could change. So I would reserve the right to change my mind on that. But based on what we know now, I would pick BC to win and to cover.
I think regardless of Emelis being in the lineup or not, I do think this is going to be a 1 to 2 point game. So I'm tempted to take the tie there, because a tie is if the team wins by 3 or less than 3 points, you get the tie. So I'm tempted to take the tie, pull a Barney here.
There you go. Riding the fence, just like Barney. You and Barney, you fence riders. There's your sprinkle of the day for Sports Select. And I wanted to talk to you about Game Quality Index. Is that what we call it?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about weather, because there's been so much talk at games about the air quality index the last few years. Luckily, we've been spared this year. I don't know that it's been an issue in any game. I know it hasn't been here. And I know this is the first year that Western Canada has been, in quite some time, spared from all of the forest fire smoke from up north. They have not been so lucky down east. But this is totally different from the weather. You can explain it.
Yeah. So the Game Quality Index is an analytic that was made a few years ago. I think it was just after COVID. Basically, a score from 1 to 10, or 0 to 10, 0 being bad, 10 being good. And it scores a game based on scoring, competitiveness, big plays, game flow, and efficiency. So it's trying to boil down, was this a good game or not? Because just because it was, say, 55 to 30, it's a high-scoring game. Probably was exciting and fun, right? Not necessarily. It could have just been a lot of busts, the big plays that weren't actually entertaining necessarily, right? So it tries to boil down, was this game entertaining or not? And so the CFL has been tracking it since 21. Spoiler alert, the season in 2021 was not a good season. It's just knocking all the rust off, right? So it wasn't a whole lot of exciting games. But this guy, CFL Stats Geek, put it all together on one big page here. So I'll throw it up on the stream and try and explain it as best I can. But at the bottom there, you can see 21, the average game was a score of 2.5. And then in 22, 23, 24, 25, we kind of hung around that 7.0, 8.0 range, keeping things average.
That's the green graph at the bottom there for those watching on the stream.
Yeah, it is. But then this year in 26, we're averaging scores of 9.5 out of 10, which is pretty high. Like an 8 is pretty high. That's pretty good. But 9.5 thus far through the 26th season, I can say, I think we've had a lot of exciting games this year. I wouldn't have put it at that high, but he's also got a ton of other stats on here, as you can see. Points per game are up. This is all comparing this year versus last year. So points are up almost 6 points versus last year. Point differential is down by almost a full point. Games decided in the last 3 minutes is up almost 20%. We're seeing 0.4 more lead changes late in games. Net offense is up across the board, including touchdown drives. On average, we're seeing 20% of drives end in a touchdown, which is fantastic. Game flow, average game time is down by almost a full minute, but we're seeing 3.5 more plays. And I think that's the clock coming into play there, so that's a good thing to see. Turnovers are down this year, but you win some, you lose some, right? And I think all Rider fans can say, we've seen a lot less turnovers than we're used to from this defense just on our team alone this year. But just from his collection of stats there, a lot of things are looking up and up for the league. And I did see one comment on his post was, the 55-yard line is going out with a bang in its last year.
Well, I mean, there's an argument to be made that if you eliminate the 55-yard line, it's easier to score points because you have an extra 10. I mean, look, any change you make has to be carefully engineered, and it's coming under a lot more scrutiny. Well, I shouldn't say more. It was coming under a lot of scrutiny from the very get-go the day they announced at that hastily called news conference in Toronto that they were going to make huge changes to the Canadian Football League. Some people, I think, look, everybody's entitled to their own view. I'm glad there's people pushing back that people want this to be different from the NFL. I want this to be. I think we should always think of ways. I actually think people would have accepted it if there was more stuff in there that made us more different from the National Football League. I don't know what that would be. But I think that people are a little bit disingenuous, some people, when they're arguing that because the end zone will shrink from 20 to 15 yards, that it will automatically mean fewer touchdowns. It might, and it's not going to create more touchdowns, but we don't know how many it will eliminate, just like we don't know how many more touchdowns will happen as a result of the goalposts in the middle. Now, a lot of people say, the goalposts have nothing to do with it. I don't believe that either. I think the goalposts absolutely have something to do with it. How much? We don't know. That's an open discussion.
We've had at least 2 uprights get in the way this year of passes. One on a 2-point convert, one on a touchdown pass. Would have been.
And one that almost helped the Riders win in that game against Edmonton when Fajardo hit it. And
that's the 2-point one that I'm referring to.
Okay, right. And the Riders might have won the Grey Cup one year if Fajardo hadn't hit the upright in that game against Winnipeg. We don't know that the pass would have been completed. Personally, I always felt like getting rid of the post would be a good idea. I just didn't know how you would do it. I always said it's going to be impossible for them to do it. I wish they could do it. I don't know how. They probably can never do it. I feel like this is the way to do it. You're gonna get it out, and what people are ignoring is, first of all, one person used the analogy that having a smaller net, if you have a smaller hockey net, are you gonna have more goals or less? And the answer's less.
Yeah.
Right? That's not really a correct analogy here, because maybe the net's a little bit smaller, but you also don't have the goalie in the middle. If you take the goalie out, you can have a smaller net. And I think look, these arguments are not that simple, but I guess the point I'm getting at is none of us know.
Yeah.
Anybody who argues really passionately one way or the other. The one part that I'm not hearing a lot of chatter about is that we are creating a no zone. And what I mean by that is it's probably between about the 25 and 40 yard line. The other team's 25 and 40 yard line. Because in that zone, if it's third down, I'm probably too close to punt because I might get a touchback, or we're not going to get very much of a net anyways if we don't get a touchback. Or we're too far to do a field goal, because there's now, it's not like the NFL where you add 17 yards. We have to add 22 yards.
Yeah.
So if I'm at your 40-yard line and we add 22 yards, that's a 62-yard field goal.
Yeah, which kickers can do, but
some.
Yeah.
And so I expect that you're going to see a lot of situations when you get into that no zone. And like Bill Belichick, in the NFL, the no zone's about 10 yards shorter, but he had about a 5-yard period or area where if it was 4th and 5 or 4th and less than that, he went for it. He would just go for it. What the heck? So I have no doubt that this is going to inspire more of those gambles, and which will lead to more touchdowns and fewer field goals. And I also think that some teams, because of the extra distance to get the field goal, are now going to try some of those longer field goals, and that will create we still will have some field goal returns.
Absolutely.
Not as many, and I'm okay with that. And right now I feel like it's awkward when a field goal is missed and the ball lands on the turf and the guy just stands there and lets the ball roll out. We're not going to have a lot of that because the uprights are going to be back at the end zone. That's an anomaly for 1 year.
Yeah.
But I know we're getting tight for time. But one thing I wanted to add to that is that with these changes, when you get close to the other team's end zone, like let's say it's late in the game and you're in that no zone and you need, let's say it's a tie game. At what point on second down does someone like Trevor Harris just do a quick punt?
Exactly.
Especially if you have the wind at your back, because now he's onside. Now he's probably not the guy to chase it down. He might have 2 receivers to his right and 2 to his left who are onside. So you've got 4 guys with great speed going at full tilt, chasing down that onside touchdown in the end zone, dealing with defensive backs who are not expecting it and not prepared to return that football. So I'm curious to see what kind of rugby-style plays and rugby-style finishes will come as a result. Now, are the coaches well enough equipped to understand all that and to plan it out and to execute it? I don't know. We'll see.
We'll find out. But that's the only way we'll see with any of this.
It's all about strategy, and I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait for the changes to happen. I argued with one ex-broadcaster and basically said, just because I'm in favor of most of these changes doesn't mean that I'm corporate. And look at the argument on its merits. I can tell you, I absolutely cannot stand the new playoff format that they're coming in. But we'll see. On that Saturday, I might love it. The fact that there's just so many games happening at once, because I was complaining earlier that we need a more flurry of action and kind of that March Madness feel almost, and that'll help with that a little bit.
We will see.
Time to break. We'll be back to wrap. You are listening to the Sportscage on 620 CKRM or watching at sportscage.com.
It's time to look ahead and plan on getting financially fit. If you're looking to open an RRSP or a TFSA, maximize an existing account, or update your investment mix, Cooperators can provide the personalized advice and service you need. Ready to start off your financial journey on the right foot? Contact your local advisor to build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, investing in your future together.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit sastel.com/make-the-call to learn more. Conditions apply.
If you've got a Steelcraft garage door, you've got a door with parts manufactured and assembled right here in Canada. A door with better insulation and seal, plus a warranty you're probably never going to use. And if you don't have a Steelcraft garage door, you should get one. Don't just hang a door, install a Steelcraft. Turn curb appeal into curb envy.
Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door. We offer more.
Steel-craft.ca.
The Roughriders season is here, and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca, and never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR 260010.
Play of the game?
Touchdown!
More like the game to play. The new Saskatchewan Roughriders Scratch and Win ticket. It's your chance to win 10 years of Rider season tickets, a premium suite for the home opener and the Labor Day Classic, and tons of Rider swag. Plus, 2 chances to win $75,000. Tickets available at your favorite lottery retailers. Proudly brought to you by Sask Lotteries, supporting sport, culture, and recreation across the province. Please play responsibly.
Why do people love pickles so much? They'll tell you it's all about that tang. So Taco Time put new tangy dill salsa on a burrito, taco, and deluxe Mexi fries. It's big pickle energy for a limited time. Anytime is taco time. It's a pickle person thing.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. From power tools to skid steers, they probably have what you need for your job. 600 Albert Street, where you deal with the owner. It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Steelcraft Doors Regina, made in Western Canada for Western Canadians.
Blue Jays were clubbing down in Tampa today, a 5-1 victory. They got 3 home runs from 3 different hitters, and the pitcher Shane Bieber had 7 strong innings of 4-hit, 1-run ball in the victory. So the Blue Jays are now just a half game out of the wild card behind the Minnesota Twins. Very real chance they could be in the wild card by the end of the weekend, and if they win all 3 in New York, they could even be 500. I don't think too many people are expecting that, but we shall see. In the Canadian Football League tonight, the Ottawa Redblacks at 0-9, trying to pull the upset of the year, playing the 8-1 Alouettes, and they're midway through the first quarter, and don't look now, but I almost called them the Renegades. The Red Blacks are leading 7-0 after a Bryson Barnes short yardage touchdown. We will see how that turns out as we hear the gasps everywhere. Don't forget the Saskatchewan Roughriders playing this weekend. Little Sunday night football, 5 o'clock kickoff from BC Place in Vancouver. And the pregame show here on Rider Radio 620 CKRM starts at 2 o'clock Regina time. We'll hear from former Regina Pat broadcaster Dale Isaac, who's probably the most prominent CFL broadcaster to come out of Saskatchewan, and also the pregame show and everything else coming from Vancouver on Sunday. Not very often do we get to see the Riders on Sunday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. I guess that's the Monday night jingle. Doesn't matter. And that is your sports ticker for this Thursday. Wanted to read off from the Prairie Mobile text line. Trevor and Jeff, one's in Regina, one's in Calgary. They are unhappy with the field goal posts moving, and Trevor and Jeff are not alone. A lot of fans are unhappy with it. I'm on board with it because I think it's just time. It looks silly where it is. I don't know that it really raises the risk of injury so much. I think that as a viewer, I think that the field of play just aesthetically will look better now that we don't have any obstruction. We can see the entire end zone. We're going to have fewer touchdowns because of the end zone being shrunk by 25%, but we're also going to have more touchdowns because we don't have this post in the middle. How much will it balance out? Nobody knows. I do know there will be more strategy because of the no zone and the more third down gambles that will be created. I actually think in a weird sort of way, all these changes are going to enhance the Rouge and make it feel a little more Canadian than it already does. But we will see. Time will tell. And I don't think that college or junior or high school or minor football need to change anytime soon. Give it 5 or 10 years, just see how it all plays out, and then decide how to proceed accordingly. Well, that's a wrap for this edition of the program. I want to thank everybody. Dave Thomas for inviting me, Colson Schultz doing all the work to put us on the air. I want to thank our guests, Glen Suitor, Arash Madani, and also Don Hewitt and Nick Lewis. It was great to have Nick in studio. This program has been a presentation of 620 CKRM and Sportscage.com.
Need some dirt moved? Some snow plowed? Or how about some grass cut? Well, Redhead Equipment has got a skid steer for that. The B-Series case skid steer comes in 8 different models, varying in power and load capacity to meet all your operational needs. And you can put your case skid steer to work all year round, with attachments for plowing, mowing, digging, and many more. Redhead Equipment, making tracks since 1948.